Chapter 2051. Take 10 moves from him. Tang Liangyi and his companion were overjoyed when they heard the purple-clad young man's words. They became even more excited. Judging from the purple-clad young man's performance, he must have a powerful trump card that gave him the confidence to win. After all, there are countless geniuses on the wild continent. There are many demon-like existences. One's combat strength could not be judged by one's cultivation base alone. Therefore, even if Tang Liangyi and his companion joined forces, they were not completely confident that they could defeat the purple-clad young man. However, to Tang Liangyi and his companion, taking 10 moves from the purple-clad young man would be a piece of cake. In their eyes, the purple-clad young man's actions were as good as letting them go. This young man is so arrogant. He's only at the safe-to-be stage, but he wants to defeat 2 saints in 10 moves. This young man looks familiar. I think I've seen him somewhere before, but I can't remember where. Who cares where he's seen him before? I want to see how sect leader Tang and his companion will teach him a lesson later. Shh, lower your voice. Don't let them hear you. We can't afford to offend these people. Seeing the purple-clad young man's actions, the crowd whispered to each other, waiting for him to make a fool of himself. You make the first move. Tang Liangyi could not wait to leave with his disciples after he defeated the purple-clad young man. He was worried that if they thought about it for too long, the purple-clad young man would change his mind. Seeing Tang Liangyi and his companion's actions, the purple-clad young man grinned with a mocking expression and said, "You two should make the first move. I'm worried that if I make the first move, you won't even have the chance to make your move." Hearing the purple-clad young man's words, Tang Liangyi and his companion were immediately enraged. The purple-clad young man was too arrogant. Thinking of this, Tang Liangyi and his companions' faces darkened. They exchanged a look and began to make their move. "Excuse us," Tang Liangyi and his companion shouted coldly. They leaped up and charged toward the purple-clad young man. Mountain Sea Storm Palm. Tang Liangyi and his companion struck out with their palms. Immediately, Saint energy gathered wildly and formed a terrifying storm. When the storm was formed, balls of Saint energy turned into raindrops and bombarded the purple-clad young man. The Saint energy raindrops fell to the ground and immediately smashed small holes in it. However, when the Saint energy raindrops landed on the purple-clad young man, they were blocked by a flame-light shield. Petty tricks. The purple-clothed young man circulated the fire energy within his body and blocked the attacks of Tang Liangyi and Jian Wuxuan. He curled his lips in disdain and said, "The two of you are too weak. I overestimated you earlier. With your strength, you won't even be able to receive 5 moves from me." As the violet-robed young man spoke, he grabbed at the air with his right hand and erupted with a shocking amount of fire energy. In the middle of this flame, there was a long spear engraved with the image of the golden crow. It exuded a powerful saint aura. "It's him. So that young man is the golden crow spear emperor, Jin Tiantao." "What? This person is the #1 spear genius of the immortal desolate domain, Jin Tiantao." Even Jin Tiantao submitted to the Dark Devil race and became their lackey. This is unbelievable. 3 years ago, the third holy son of the Dark Devil clan, Ziyun Shao, seemed to have fought with Jin Tiantao. It seems that Jin Tiantao was defeated. I remember now. The wager between the two of them was that the loser would have to submit to the other. At this moment, everyone began to discuss Jin Tiantao's deeds. Then, everyone revealed sympathetic gazes and started to worry for Tang Liangyi and Ziyun Shao. As the #1 spear genius of the immortal desolate domain, Jin Tiantao was not only extremely powerful, but his battle achievements were also admirable. Jin Tiantao had once fought against 3 Saint Realm experts alone and won. He had even killed one of them in a domineering manner. One had to know that this was something from 100 years ago. At that time, Jin Tiantao was only at the 9th level of the 9 Heavens Xian Immortal Realm. Now, he was clearly stronger. When everyone recognized Jin Tiantao, Tang Liangyi and Ziyun Shao also recognized him. They revealed terrified expressions and said, "Jin Tiantao, You were originally the child of fortune of the wasteland continent. You could lead the immortal race to resist the invasion of the dark devil race. Why are you helping the evildoers now? After knowing Jin Tiantao's identity, Tang Liangyi immediately lost his will to fight. He knew that the two of them were no match for him. Not to mention that they weren't in their peak condition. Even if they were at their peak, they still wouldn't be a match for Jin Tiantao. Now, Tang Liangyi wanted to awaken Jin Tiantao's conscience so that he wouldn't continue to be so stubborn. Obviously, Tang Liangyi's plan didn't work. When Jin Tiantao heard his words, he said, "It's not up to you to tell me what to do. Since you don't have the ability, don't blame me." As soon as Jin Tiantao finished speaking, he waved the long spear in his hand and blasted out a terrifying flame energy. Whoosh! The flame energy left the long spear and turned into a giant flaming bird that flew towards Tang Liangyi and Zi Yunxiao. As the flaming bird swooped down, 9 huge balls of fire quickly formed around it. In a short while, the flaming bird and the 9 fireballs swallowed Tang Liangyi and Zi Yunxiao. In the face of the flaming bird and the fireballs, Tang Liangyi and Zi Yunxiao couldn't resist at all and were instantly burned to ashes. Too weak. After killing Tang Liangyi and Zi Yunxiao, Jin Tiantao shook his head in disappointment. He waved to his subordinates and said, "Since the two of them have been defeated, I should fulfill my promise and kill everyone from the Mountain Yuan Immortal Sect." Yes. After receiving Jin Tiantao's order, the people behind him immediately killed the people from the Mountain Yuan Immortal Sect. After giving the order to his subordinates, Jin Tiantao looked at Yin Peng and said with a cold smile, "Yin Peng Saint Array Master, I'll let you continue to break the formation. I'm also very curious about this small courtyard." Okay. Yin Peng nodded immediately and continued to break the formation when he heard Jin Tiantao's words. Looking at Silver Rock, who was trying to break the formation, Jin Tiantao showed a cold smile and said, "I heard that you lost to Mo Qingyun in a battle of formations in the ancestral tomb of the Mega School, right?" "Aye." Yin Peng's face darkened when he heard Jin Tiantao's words. He wanted to refute Jin Tiantao's words. However, before Yin Peng could say anything, Jin Tiantao said with a disdainful look, "Humph. In the past 10 years, I've always heard rumors about how powerful Mo Qingyun is. If that kid doesn't use his ability to borrow external forces, he won't even be able to take 3 of my moves." Yin Peng pursed his lips when he heard Jin Tiantao's words. He was very disdainful of Jin Tiantao's words. In his opinion, if Jin Tiantao had seen Mo Qingyun's strength, he wouldn't have dared to speak so arrogantly. Although Yin Peng was displeased, he didn't dare to show his displeasure because of Jin Tiantao's status and strength. Filled with disdain and contempt, Yin Peng quickly cracked the array formation and soon broke it. However, when Yin Peng broke the formation, he was dumbfounded. Chapter 2052. Mo Qingyun was actually in the courtyard. At this moment, Yin Peng instantly had the urge to cry. Just how unlucky was he? Ever since he returned from the shaman faction's ancestral tomb, Mo Qingyun had become his nightmare, causing him to be unable to eat or sleep in peace. He was constantly worried that Mo Qingyun would suddenly find him one day and take revenge for what happened in the shaman faction's ancestral tomb. He had always been thinking about how he should face such a situation if he encountered it. He had thought of many possibilities, but he had never imagined that he would encounter Mo Qingyun under such circumstances. He could be considered to have refused to take the path to heaven and insisted on barging through the gates of hell. Yin Peng Saint Formation Master, long time no see. Mo Qingyun nodded with a smile as he looked at Yin Peng, who had a dazed expression. He raised his hand and pointed at the stone stool beside him. "Come over and have a cup of tea with us. Let's catch up." No. Yin Peng shook his head like a rattle when he heard Mo Qingyun's words, and he immediately refused Mo Qingyun. Catch up my ass. He had nothing to talk about with Mo Qingyun. Could it be that they were going to discuss how he would die later? Yin Peng calmed the panic in his heart and revealed an apologetic smile. Thank you for your kind intentions, Mr. Mo. I'm very uncouth and can't taste tea. I'm really sorry for disturbing your tea. I'll restore the formation for you right now. Peng was in a very depressed mood right now. Just how cheap was he to want to restore the formation after breaking it? However, he didn't dare to not do so unless he was really tired of living. Today, ZK and the others weren't here, so no one could suppress Mo Qingyun. Most importantly, Peng discovered that Mo Qingyun's cultivation had broken through to the first level of the Nine Heavens Xian immortal realm. In this way, Mo Qingyun's current strength was definitely stronger than before. In a short period of less than 10 years, his cultivation has broken through from the Dao success stage to the first level of the Nine Heavens Xian immortal realm. Peng was even more terrified when he saw Mo Qingyun's cultivation speed, and he thought to himself, if this speed continues, then perhaps Mo Qingyun will be able to break through to the Saint realm within 100 years. Once Mo Qingyun breaks through to the Saint realm, no one in the entire wasteland continent will be able to suppress him. The more Peng thought about it, the more afraid he became. The more he thought about it, the more shocked he became. Cold sweat uncontrollably broke out on his forehead. Exactly what sort of terrifying existence had he offended? Mo Qingyun was in no hurry to attack when he saw how panicked Peng was. He continued to smile faintly and said, Saint Formation Master Peng, it's been a few years since we last met. Your attainments in the Tao of Formations have improved greatly. Looks like you've learned quite a lot from me in the ancestral tomb of a shaman clan. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Peng was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Mo Qingyun had nothing to do with his improvement in the array Tao. It was the result of his hard work in the past few years. Peng didn't dare to refute, even though he was very unhappy. He quickly cupped his hands at Mo Qingyun and smiled apologetically. Peng will always remember Mr. Mo's guidance. If there's a chance in the future, I hope that Mr. Mo can give me a few more pointers. Don't worry, Peng's Saint Array Master. There will be plenty of opportunities to give you pointers. Mo Qingyun did not lie to Peng's courteous words. He got straight to the point with a smile. My array hall just happens to lack a sacred array master to oversee it. Although your attainments in array formations are a little lacking, you barely meet the requirements. Mo Qingyun changed his mind when he thought about the lack of saint array masters in the creation immortal sect. He was prepared to spare Peng's life first. He couldn't stay in the creation immortal sect all the time. When he wasn't in the creation immortal sect, he needed a saint array master to replace him. Mr. Mo, Peng didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he heard Mo Qingyun's words. He opened his mouth to persuade Mo Qingyun. He really didn't want to work for Mo Qingyun. It would make his room uneasy. Mo Qingyun interrupted Peng before he could say anything. Don't worry. Although your attainments in the array Tao are slightly lacking, if there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me anytime. Peng was so angry that he almost couldn't breathe when he heard Mo Qingyun's words. If it wasn't for the fact that he couldn't beat Mo Qingyun, he would have rushed up and slapped Mo Qingyun 10,000 times. This guy's mouth was too sharp. Since he wanted to recruit him, he shouldn't have attacked him like this. Although he was unhappy, Peng didn't dare to show it. He smiled apologetically and said, Thank you, Mr. Mo, for your kind intentions. However, you said that my attainments in the array Tao are shallow. I'm afraid I can't take on such a big responsibility. Mo Qingyun knew what Peng was thinking. His face darkened, and he said unhappily, Saint Array Master Peng, you should be clear about our relationship. If you don't accept my recognition, how will I treat you? This, under Mo Qingyun's cold gaze, Peng's expression tensed up and hesitation appeared on his face. Naturally, he could tell that Mo Qingyun's words were a warning and a threat. If he didn't submit, Mo Qingyun would definitely kill him. While Peng was hesitating, Jin Tiantao walked up from behind. He glanced at Mo Qingyun with disdain and said, Kid, so you're Mo Qingyun. Your cultivation has improved quite quickly. In less than 10 years, you've improved from the Grand Unity Profound Immortal stage to the first level of the Nine Heavens Profound Immortal stage. In less than 10 years, his cultivation has improved from the Grand Unity Profound Immortal stage to the first level of the Nine Heavens Profound Immortal stage. What kind of cultivation speed is this? This young man is too terrifying. Judging from Peng's performance, he seems to be afraid of this young man. Fortunately, we didn't provoke him. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Mo Qingyan? I think I've heard this name before. Where have I heard it before? Are you stupid? Young Master Jin Tianhao just said his name. It would be strange if you haven't heard it before. Hearing Jin Tiantao's words, everyone was shocked and started to talk about Mo Qingyan. While everyone was talking about Mo Qingyan looked at Jin Tiantao with a faint smile and said, "You said that you only need 3 moves to defeat me. Why don't we spar?" Mo Qingyan thought in his heart. He had just made a breakthrough in his cultivation and needed a sparring partner. Since Jin Tianhao took the initiative to speak up, he wouldn't be polite and asked Jin Tianhao to spar with him. Judging from the situation earlier, Jin Tiantao's strength wasn't weak. He should be able to detect his combat strength. Do you really think so? Seeing Mo Qingyan taking the initiative to provoke him, Jin Tiantao was stunned. He thought that he had heard wrongly. In his opinion, Mo Qingyan's actions were simply suicidal. Of course. Chapter 2053. Me? Afraid? You're quite humorous. Jin Tiantao sneered. His eyes gradually turned cold. He raised his head and said, "You'll find out later how laughable your thoughts are." As Jin Tiantao spoke, he raised his hand and grabbed at the void, taking out the Golden Crow battle spear. From this, it could be seen that he was still wary of Mo Qingyan. Otherwise, he would not have taken out his weapon. He was well aware of the rumors about Mo Qingyan back then. Regardless of whether Mo Qingyan came with external help or not, the fact that he could escape from ZK and the others was enough to prove that he was extraordinary and powerful. Seeing Jin Tiantao's action, Peng's expression immediately changed. There was some sympathy in his eyes. He knew very well that Jin Tiantao's strength was definitely not Mo Qingyan's match. Even if Mo Qingyan did not rely on external help, he could still beat Jin Tiantao to a pulp. Of course, Peng knew this, but he would not open his mouth to remind Jin Tiantao. First of all, Jin Tiantao had just been disrespectful to him and humiliated him, which made him very dissatisfied in his heart. Secondly, he did not dare to do so. Mo Qingyan already had a grudge against him. If he opened his mouth to remind Jin Tiantao, wouldn't it be the same as provoking Mo Qingyan? If he angered Mo Qingyan and changed his mind, he would really be dead. It was not worth it for him to do so for Jin Tiantao. Mo Qingyan, I don't like to take advantage of others. Show me your weapon. Looking at Mo Qingyan sitting at the stone table, Jin Tiantao's expression was cold as he urged Mo Qingyan. Hearing Jin Tiantao's words, Mo Qingyan put down his teacup unhurriedly. He shook his head and smiled faintly. I don't need to take out my weapon to deal with you. My bare hands are more than enough. You, seeing that Mo Qingyan was even more arrogant than him, Jin Tiantao's expression immediately turned ugly. His expression kept twitching. At this moment, he suddenly had the misconception that Mo Qingyan wanted to trample on him to establish his authority. If he really wasn't a match for Mo Qingyan, then killing Tang Liangyi in such a domineering manner just now was equivalent to paving the way for Mo Qingyan. He was all too familiar with this kind of trick because he often did it. This kid is so arrogant. He seems to be even more arrogant than Jin Tiantao. Jin Tiantao is so arrogant. He really has the ability. Can this brat do it? Who cares if he can do it or not? In any case, looking at this brat's arrogant appearance, I'm full of anticipation for this battle. Haha, me too. I can't wait any longer. Seeing Mo Qingyan's arrogant attitude, the crowd's enthusiasm was immediately aroused. Jin Tiantao's face turned even uglier when he noticed the change in the mood of the people around him. He was all too familiar with this kind of scene. Every time he stepped on others to get to the top, he would be surrounded by such a scene. Only this time, his identity had been swapped. Brat, you're quite calculative. You want to step on me to get to the top. Jean Tiantao thought that he had seen through Mo Qingyun's thoughts. So he sneered at Mo Qingyun and said, "There are many people who want to step on me to get to the top, but no matter how you rank, Mo Qingyun will never be your turn. Are you done with your nonsense?" Looking at the chattering Jean Tiantao, Mo Qingyun impatiently urged him and said, "If you're done with your nonsense, then hurry up and do it. The tea is a little hot right now. Once I'm done, you can come back and drink some tea." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the crowd widened their eyes again, thinking that they had misheard. This brat is really too arrogant. How long does it take to make tea cold? He actually wants to defeat Jean Tiantao so quickly. Putting aside his strength, this brat completely beats Jean Tiantao in terms of arrogance and showing off. I'm thinking, what if this brat is too strong and ruthlessly beats Jean Tiantao up? What if the tea isn't cold yet? That would be awkward. The more they talked, the more excited they became. They were looking forward to the battle between Mo Qingyun and Jean Tiantao. Under everyone's gaze, Jean Tiantao could no longer remain calm. He took the lead and swung his spear at Mo Qingyun. Golden crow, burning mountains and rivers. Under Jean Tiantao's wave, the golden crow spear suddenly emitted a bright red light. Flames surged and gathered a terrifying amount of immortal spiritual energy. Soon, the immortal spiritual energy left the spear and turned into a giant flaming bird. Whoosh! The flaming bird was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it was in front of Mo Qingyun and flew towards Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun didn't even move in the face of the flaming bird's attack. A trace of contempt appeared at the corner of his mouth. He said, "You're too far away from me when it comes to playing with fire. This level of fire can't even make diapers for a baby." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the crowd couldn't help but be stunned. They didn't know what to say. While the crowd was shocked by Mo Qingyun's words, a red light flashed in Mo Qingyun's right eye, and a terrifying flame energy erupted. The flame energy gathered and shot out in a domineering manner, turning into a stream of flame. Poochie! The attack speed of the eye ray was extremely fast. In an instant, it hit the flaming bird and pierced through its body. Facing the attack of the eye ray, the flaming bird didn't have the slightest bit of resistance and was blasted away. Looking at this scene, the crowd was stunned. They rubbed their eyes desperately. Too strong. Just a look, and he defeated Jean Tiantao's attack. Jean Tiantao's attack just now was enough to threaten a middle-stage Saint Realm expert, but it was defeated by a look. So this brat wasn't just showing off. He's really awesome. This time, Jean Tiantao is going to fall. He met someone more ruthless than him. Seeing this scene, the crowd was shocked. They looked at Mo Qingyun in awe. Under the crowd's respectful gaze, Mo Qingyun slowly stood up and stretched his body. He said, "Didn't your mother tell you that playing with fire will make you wet the bed? With your flame energy, it's not enough to bake diapers. Playing with fire will make me wet the bed?" The crowd was stunned again. They didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Jean Tiantao was a quasi-Saint Realm expert. How could he say that playing with fire will make him wet the bed? This was too insulting. "Brat, you've gone too far." Hearing Mo Qingyun's humiliating words, Jean Tiantao was completely enraged. He waved his long spear and attacked Mo Qingyun. When Jean Tiantao made his move, a terrifying bloodline power erupted from his body. Once this bloodline was activated, the fiery aura that he exuded became several times stronger. So this is the Golden Crow bloodline. Although it's not on the 10,000 Archean tribe board, its bloodline energy isn't any weaker than the Heavenly Soul Demon bloodline. Sensing Jean Tiantao's bloodline energy, Mo Qingyun understood and nodded. He smiled mockingly and said, "Competing with my bloodline energy isn't a smart choice. In terms of bloodline energy, I'm no weaker than you." After Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he activated his Heavenly Soul Demon bloodline. A powerful demonic aura erupted from his body. Chapter 2054. What great a bloodline is this? My blood seems to have solidified under the suppression of this bloodline power. King, King grade bloodline. I didn't expect his bloodline to reach the king grade. King grade? Jin Tiantao's bloodline is king grade, but his bloodline suppression is much weaker than Mo Qingyun's. Based on what you're saying, Mo Qingyun's bloodline has reached the ancient grade? Ancient grade? Maybe it's ancient grade, or maybe it's ancestor grade. Hiss! Under the suppression of Mo Qingyun's bloodline, everyone's eyes widened. They were shocked by Mo Qingyun's bloodline grade. When they deduced that Mo Qingyun's bloodline grade might be above the ancient grade, they were all stunned. They were all dumbfounded. To them, this was too frightening. In the past million years, those whose bloodline had reached the 9-star grade were considered super geniuses. King grade bloodline only appeared once in hundreds of thousands of years, and every one of them was heavily nurtured by the various races. As for ancient grade bloodlines, none had appeared in the past million years. They were considered extinct. Now, Mo Qingyun's heavenly soul demon bloodline had surpassed the ancient grade. This was a little frightening. Ancestor grade bloodline. Your bloodline grade is actually ancestor grade. Other people's bloodline grades were too low to sense Mo Qingyun's bloodline grade, but Jin Tiantao was different. His bloodline grade was king grade. So, when Mo Qingyun activated his bloodline, he could clearly sense it. After knowing Mo Qingyun's bloodline grade, Jin Tiantao's expression changed drastically. He could not accept this result. The bloodline talent he had always been proud of was now trash in front of Mo Qingyun. This huge psychological gap made him feel uncomfortable, as if a fishbone was stuck in his throat. Ancestor grade. Mo Qingyun's bloodline grade is really ancestor grade. How terrifying. How did this guy do it? Is his bloodline going back to its ancestral state? In terms of bloodline talent, Mo Qingyun is already invincible. Hearing Jin Tiantao's surprised words, everyone's expression changed again. They were completely convinced by Mo Qingyun. They knew very well that as long as someone like Mo Qingyun didn't die, his name was destined to shake the world. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, Mo Qingyun's aura suddenly changed and became even sharper. Another powerful bloodline was activated by him at this moment, exuding an even stronger bloodline pressure. What? Mo Qingyun actually has another powerful bloodline other than the heavenly soul devil bloodline. The grade of this bloodline power is clearly not at the king level, but the bloodline pressure is even stronger than that of the heavenly soul demons. There is only one possibility. This bloodline is even more powerful than the bloodline of the heavenly soul demon clan. More powerful than the bloodline of the heavenly soul demon clan? Could it be the sacred might bloodline or the decaying soul bloodline? The characteristics of the sacred might bloodline and the decaying soul bloodline are very obvious. It definitely doesn't look like this bloodline. This is the absolute beginning creation bloodline. Mo Qingyun actually has the number 1 bloodline. Hiss, this is too monstrous. This guy is not human. Sensing Mo Qingyun's absolute beginning creation bloodline, everyone's eyes widened and their minds couldn't react. They really didn't expect that Mo Qingyun actually had an even more powerful bloodline in his body. This bloodline was so powerful that even the heavenly soul devil bloodline was a huge step away from it. Absolute beginning creation bloodline. Everyone sensed the absolute beginning creation bloodline, including Jin Tiantao, and his expression was filled with jealousy. He couldn't accept that Mo Qingyun actually had the ancestral heavenly soul devil bloodline and the quasi-king level absolute beginning creation bloodline. The heavens were too biased to give such good things to Mo Qingyun alone. So what if you were talented? In the face of absolute power, all talent is useless. Seeing that he had lost to Mo Qingyun in terms of talent, Jin Tiantao gritted his teeth and roared angrily. Then, he attacked Mo Qingyun again. Jin Tiantao leaped into the air and flew 10,000 meters into the air. He swung the Golden Crow Divine Spear down at Mo Qingyun. Heavenly Crow Annihilation Slash. As Jin Tianhao swung the golden crow spear, terrifying flames instantly erupted and enveloped Jin Tiantao's body. Then, Jin Tiantao streaked across the sky like a flaming golden crow. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Mo Qingyun with his spear. Seeing Jin Tiantao coming at him like a meteor, Mo Qingyun didn't retreat at all. Instead, he swung his fist at Jin Tiantao. Demonic Saint Star Shattering Fist. Mo Qingyun threw out a punch. His fist was restrained, like a normal person throwing a punch. However, this ordinary punch gave off a feeling of extreme speed and danger. It made people shudder involuntarily. Mo Qingyun, I've long heard that your body is powerful. However, my golden crow spear is a medium-quality saint weapon. Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, Jin Tiantao immediately sneered. His expression was filled with pride. He said, "In all my life, I've never heard of anyone whose body can resist a saint weapon. You've never heard of it before because you're ignorant." Mo Qingyun smiled faintly in response to Jin Tiantao's pride. Then, his fist met the golden crow spear. Boom! It was a loud sound. Mo Qingyun blocked the golden crow spear. It produced a powerful wave of saint force that swept out in all directions. When the saint force wave was produced, Jin Tiantao stopped. He was unable to move forward at all. Seeing this, Jin Tiantao's pupils immediately shrank, and his eyes widened. He blocked it. His all-out attack had been blocked by Mo Qingyun. How could this be? Seeing this, Jin Tiantao's heart trembled. His expression became a little crazy. The strength of Mo Qingyun's body was comparable to a medium-quality saint weapon. This was simply inhuman. Even the body of a demonic beast wasn't so abnormal. Crack, crack, crack. While Jin Tiantao was still in shock, a crisp sound suddenly came from the golden crow spear. Then, he saw tiny cracks appear on the surface of the golden crow divine spear. Seeing this, Jin Tiantao was instantly stunned. His brain lost its ability to think. The golden crow spear had shattered. Was this caused by Mo Qingyun's punch? Jin Tiantao wasn't sure. He had never heard of such a thing. Who could shatter a medium-quality saint weapon with a single punch? Even a saint at great perfection couldn't do it. Shatter. After shattering Jin Tiantao's golden crow spear, Mo Qingyun roared angrily. The aura on his fist suddenly soared. A terrifying power erupted from Mo Qingyun's fist, shattering the golden crow divine spear into pieces. Chapter 2055. Asterisk crack. Asterisk under Mo Qingyun's punch. Jin Tiantao's chest immediately caved in, and the crisp sound of bones cracking could be heard. Then, Jin Tiantao's body flew thousands of meters away like a cannonball. Asterisk bang. Asterisk one of the palaces in the alchemist temple was instantly turned into a pile of ruins by Jin Tiantao's attack. As the palace collapsed, the ground caved in, creating a terrifying sandstorm. Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes widened, and their bodies could not help but tremble. Mo Qingyun's strength was too terrifying. Even with Jin Tiantao's great strength, he could not resist at all in front of him. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the sandstorm around the collapsed palace began to dissipate bit by bit. As the sandstorm slowly dissipated, Jin Tiantao's body was revealed, lying on the ground like a dead dog. Young lord. Seeing Jin Tiantao's appearance, Jin Tiantao's followers immediately flew over to him. Then, Jin Tiantao was helped up by the crowd. He looked at Mo Qingyun with a dispirited expression, his eyes filled with coldness. In this confrontation with Mo Qingyun, he had been beaten so badly that he could not resist at all. This was too embarrassing. Even a few years ago, when he fought with Ziyun Shao, the holy son of the Dark Demon clan, he had not been defeated so badly. This matter could not be forgotten. He must avenge today's humiliation and return today's hatred tenfold to Mo Qingyun. Looking at the gloomy Jin Tiantao, a faint smile appeared on Mo Qingyun's face. He teased, "Your golden crow spear is indeed a mid-grade saint weapon. When faced with an attack, it can actually disintegrate on its own. This is the first time I've seen such a powerful saint weapon. Asterisk hearing Mo Qingyun's words. Jin Tiantao was so angry that he vomited blood, and the hatred in his heart grew even stronger. This guy was clearly taking advantage of him, but he was still pretending to be innocent. He had shattered the golden crow spear with one punch, and he was still pretending to be crazy. This was too shameless. Without waiting for Jin Tiantao to refute, Mo Qingyun's smile widened. He glanced at Jin Tiantao and the others and said, "Earlier, you said that you could defeat me in 3 moves. Just now, you have already used 2 moves. It seems that your last move must be very powerful." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Jin Tiantao's face immediately turned red as a sense of humiliation rose in his heart. The current situation was a stark contrast to what he had described earlier. Now, it wasn't Mo Qingyun who had been defeated by him in 3 moves. It was him who had been defeated by Mo Qingyun in 3 moves. No, to be exact, it was Mo Qingyun who defeated him in 2 moves. You actually need someone to support you when you use this last move. It seems like the power is really terrifying. Looking at the gloomy Jin Tiantao, Mo Qingyun pretended to be surprised and mocked him. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Jin Tiantao's face turned as white as a sheet of paper. Puff! In a fit of rage, Jin Tiantao was so angry that he couldn't help but spit out another mouthful of blood. Seeing this scene, the surrounding people were dumbfounded. Their feelings were extremely complicated. In this confrontation, Jin Tiantao had been completely defeated. This Mo Qingyun is really ruthless. He can't believe he humiliated Jin Tiantao like this. This must be karma. Jin Tiantao treated Tang Liangyi like that just now. This is his retribution. This time, Jin Tiantao has been defeated. Whether it is a contest of words or a contest of strength, he has been completely defeated by Mo Qingyun. Although Mo Qingyun won the battle with Jin Tiantao, his situation isn't looking good. Jin Tiantao has many Saint Realm subordinates. That's right. Mo Qingyun was so ruthless that he completely cut off his own path of retreat. While the crowd was marveling at Mo Qingyun's ability, they looked at the people around Jin Tiantao and began to worry for Mo Qingyun. In their opinion, no matter how strong Mo Qingyun was, there was no way he could deal with more than 10 Saint Realm experts. Listening to the crowd's whispers, Jin Tiantao's face turned red again. He felt a strong sense of humiliation. Mo Qingyun, you forced me to do this. Looking at Mo Qingyun in front of him, Jin Tiantao gritted his teeth and shouted angrily. He waved to the people around him and said, "Don't worry about me. Capture Mo Qingyun. Don't be in a hurry to kill him. I want to capture him alive and torture him slowly." "Yes, young lord." Hearing Jin Tiantao's order, the crowd immediately nodded and surrounded Mo Qingyun. Hearing his order, Jin Tiantao's face darkened even more. With a ferocious expression, he said, "Originally, I didn't want to use my power to bully you. However, you have already crossed my bottom line. You only have yourself to blame. Your 3rd move is indeed powerful. You didn't even need to do anything. Ordinary people can't compare to you." Looking at the crowd surrounding him, Mo Qingyun was still indifferent. He mocked Jin Tiantao again. Hearing Mo Qingyun's mockery, Jin Tiantao snorted coldly and said, "Humph, when you fought with me, you should have been prepared to be besieged by us. You want to surround me with just these people?" Glancing at Jin Tiantao's subordinates, Mo Qingyun smiled brightly. His eyes flashed with mockery. He said, "Back then, ZK and the others were much stronger than these people when they worked together. In the end, they still couldn't do anything to me. These people are not enough." Jin Tiantao is finished. Seeing Mo Qingyun's current performance, Yin Peng's heart skipped a beat. He couldn't help but shake his head. He knew best how strong Mo Qingyun was. It would be too easy for him to kill Jin Tiantao and the others. Under Yin Peng's respectful gaze, Mo Qingyun nodded at Jin Tiantao's subordinates and urged, If you want to do it, hurry up. The tea is still a little hot. After dealing with you people, it'll be just right to drink tea. Imperial Seal, Killing Spirit Eye. After Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he didn't waste time talking nonsense with the crowd. He took the initiative to attack one of them. A terrifying, mysterious power quickly gathered in Mo Qingyun's left eye and turned into a strange mark. As soon as the mark appeared, it turned into a ray of gray light. In a flash, it blasted into the man's sea of consciousness. Poof! After being hit by Mo Qingyun's soul attack, the man's face immediately turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Following that, the aura emitted by that person began to rapidly dissipate. His sea of consciousness and primordial spirit were completely destroyed by Mo Qingyun's attack. Plop! After his soul was destroyed by Mo Qingyun, the man's body stiffened and he fell backward. Seeing this, everyone's eyes widened. They couldn't believe what they had just seen. With just a glance, a Saint Stage expert was instantly killed by Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun's strength was too terrifying. Chapter 2056. He killed a Saint Realm expert with just a glance. What kind of combat strength is that? Too terrifying. Is he really a Nine Heavens Xian immortal? I didn't expect that he didn't use his full strength in the battle just now. Otherwise, Jin Tiantao wouldn't be able to take a single blow. A single blow? I don't think he could take even half a blow. You guys think too highly of Jin Tiantao. Mo Qingyun didn't even need to make a move to deal with him. Just a glance is enough. What glance? Mo Qingyun didn't even need to look at him. He could kill him with just a thought. You guys are too ridiculous. However, Jin Tiantao is indeed trash in comparison. Keep your voices down. Be careful that Jin Tiantao will take revenge on you. What's there to be afraid of? If Jin Tiantao wants to take revenge on me, he'll leave here alive first. Although I hate those despicable people, I have the same mentality now. I'm just here to watch the show. I have the same mentality. When the crowd saw Mo Qingyun's strength, they were all excited and gloating at the side. Although Jin Tiantao was furious with the crowd's reaction, he didn't have the time to care about it. Mo Qingyun's strength had completely exceeded his imagination and was beyond the scope of his control. Could it be that the rumors are true? The strength he possesses is truly comparable to ZK and the others? Seeing Mo Qingyun's strength, Jin Tiantao couldn't help but recall some rumors about Mo Qingyun. Previously, he didn't care about those rumors and didn't believe that they were true. In his opinion, those rumors were just some ignorant people. The more they spread, the more ridiculous they became. As a grand unity Xian immortal, how strong could he be when his cultivation level was so obvious? However, after seeing Mo Qingyun's strength, Jin Tiantao changed his mind. He began to believe those rumors. Mo Qingyun's strength was indeed very powerful. It was terrifying to the point that it was shocking. He could no longer be judged by common sense. No, this must be fake. He can't be so strong. Jin Tiantao became more and more agitated. He held his head with both hands and couldn't accept this fact. He couldn't accept that someone whose cultivation was much lower than his was able to crush him in all aspects. Back then, he had lost to Zi Yunxiao because Zi Yunxiao's cultivation level was higher than his, allowing him to find an excuse to console himself. However, today's battle with Mo Qingyun had completely shattered his self-esteem. He had suffered a crushing defeat. Next, it's your turn. Mo Qingyun instantly killed one of them. An evil smile appeared on his face as he glanced at the other person. After he finished speaking, Mo Qingyun's figure flashed and appeared in front of that person. Demonic star splitting palm. A terrifying amount of immortal spiritual energy gathered on Mo Qingyun's palm, forming a huge palm shadow that emitted a terrifying aura. A palm shadow blasted out from Mo Qingyun's hand, immediately causing the sky to darken a bit. It tyrannically pressed down on that person. Boom, boom, boom. Under Mo Qingyun's palm, even space began to tremble, producing a series of muffled sounds. Seeing the power of this palm, Jean Tiantao's subordinates' expressions changed. Their expressions turned solemn. So powerful. This palm is too terrifying. What kind of freak is this guy? He's just a first-level, 9 heavens Xian immortal. How can his strength be so terrifying? With our strength, I'm afraid we're no match for him. Why don't we retreat? Jean Tiantao. Young Lord hasn't said anything yet. Let's deal with him first and see what the young Lord thinks. Facing Mo Qingyun's palm, Jean Tiantao's subordinates quickly communicated, waiting for Jean Tiantao's opinion. While they were communicating, they didn't stay idle, and all of them blocked the attack. Soon, a terrifying surge of saint energy erupted from everyone's body. Heavenly Thunder's sacred fist, Meteor Realm piercing slash, Milky Way saint energy finger. Suddenly, all kinds of terrifying divine abilities were executed by Jean Tiantao's subordinates. Then, a series of palm shadows, fist radiance, and sword light collided with the huge black palm. Boom! A loud explosion was heard. Following the loud noise, a terrifying energy storm was formed at the place where several forces collided. When a storm of power was formed, it turned into a huge hurricane that spread wildly in all directions. In just a short while, the surroundings became a mess. All the buildings were destroyed by the storm. Seeing this scene, the surrounding spectators immediately retreated, fearing that they would be affected by the energy storm. When the crowd retreated, Jean Tiantao didn't dare to be careless and immediately retreated to the side. If he was in his peak condition, he wouldn't be afraid of the storm. However, he couldn't do it now. Seeing Jean Tiantao turn around and retreat, Mo Qingyun's figure moved and immediately chased after him. He sneered and said, "Are you trying to escape? Didn't you say you could defeat me in 3 moves? Why are you in a hurry to run away now?" Mo Qingyun. Hearing Mo Qingyun's voice, Jean Tiantao was so frightened that he screamed. His face was filled with fear. At this moment, he was afraid. He was afraid of Mo Qingyun. Without waiting for Jean Tiantao to finish speaking, Mo Qingyun came in front of him and reached out to grab him. When he saw Mo Qingyun reaching for Jean Tiantao, one of the Sage Realm powerhouses protecting Jean Tiantao wore a cold expression and shouted, "Kid, you're too arrogant. It won't be that easy for you to capture someone from under my nose." As soon as the Saint Realm expert finished speaking, he stabbed at Mo Qingyun with his sword. Terrifying saint power condensed on the sword. Mo Qingyun looked at the Saint Realm expert coldly and said, "You don't have the ability to stop me. Get out of my way." Heavenly Sun, star-piercing eyes. Mo Qingyun shouted angrily. A red light flashed in his right eye and condensed a terrifying flame energy. The flame energy blasted out and turned into a ray of light that instantly blasted the Saint Realm expert. Bang! The ray of light blasted the Saint Realm expert and set his body ablaze. Realizing that his body was being burned, the Saint Realm expert immediately cried out in alarm and began to scream, What kind of flame is this? Why can't I put it out? My body." Before the Saint Realm expert could finish speaking, his voice stopped abruptly as he was burned to a crisp by the flame. Looking at this scene, the surrounding people were once again dumbfounded as they frantically rubbed their eyes. A Saint Realm powerhouse was incinerated into nothingness by Mo Qingyun's gaze. What kind of technique was this? At this moment, their brains were not enough to comprehend it. They felt that their understanding of the world had been shattered. Even an expert of the late stage of the Sage Realm wouldn't be able to kill an expert of the initial stage of the Sage Realm so easily. Chapter 2057. After killing the Saint Realm expert, Mo Qingyun did not stop and continued to approach Jean Tiantao. Seeing Mo Qingyun's domineering action, Jean Tiantao's face immediately paled, revealing a panicked expression. With Mo Qingyun's strength, he could not resist at all. He could only be a fish on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered by Mo Qingyun. Jean Tiantao panicked and said, "Mo Qingyun, don't come over, don't come over." Jean Tiantao was so frightened that he wanted to cry. He did not know what to do. No one could save him now. At this moment, his heart was filled with helplessness and despair. Even when he fought with Ziyun Xiao, he did not have such a feeling. He felt that death was so close to him. Before Jin Tiantao could finish his words, Mo Qingyun caught him as if he was a dead dog. Mo Qingyun, what will you want? Seeing that he had been captured by Mo Qingyun, Jin Tiantao had a terrified expression on his face as he hurriedly asked Mo Qingyun. Hearing Jin Tiantao's question, Mo Qingyun's expression gradually turned cold. He exuded a chilling aura and said, I came out of seclusion this time to take revenge on the Dark Devil race. Since you're their dog, I'll kill you first and then slowly deal with your master. Knowing Mo Qingyun's intention, Jin Tiantao was so frightened that his body trembled and his face turned even paler. He could tell that Mo Qingyun really wanted to kill him. He really wanted to kill him here and now. After all, Mo Qingyun was not even afraid of the Dark Devil race. Naturally, he would not be afraid of the Tsunami Spear sect behind him. Mo Qingyun, let's talk nicely. Please give me a chance to make up for it. Jin Tiantao panicked and hurriedly begged Mo Qingyun for mercy. He patted his chest and said, I'm the young master of the Tsunami Spear sect. If you're willing to spare my life, I'll make the Tsunami Spear sect submit to you. What do you think of this condition? You want the Tsunami Spear sect to submit to me? Under Jin Tiantao's nervous gaze, Mo Qingyun smiled meaningfully and raised his hand to touch his chin. He smiled and said, this condition sounds pretty good. I'll have to think about it. Of course, Mo Qingyun would not accept it. He only said this to tease Jin Tiantao. When Jin Tiantao provoked him, the former's fate was already sealed. In other words, the fact that Jin Tiantao was able to bring so many Saint Realm experts with him showed how powerful the Tsunami Spear Divine sect was. It was precisely because of the strength of the Tsunami Divine Spear sect that Mo Qingyun didn't believe Jin Tiantao had such ability. After all, he was only a young master and not the sect's master. Even if he was the sect master of the Tsunami Spear sect, there were still elders and ancestors in the sect. They might not be willing to submit to him. Seeing Mo Qingyun's hesitation, Jin Tiantao began to persuade Mo Qingyun. Although the Tsunami Spear sect is not a superpower, in the Immortal Wasteland, we're still a first-class force. If we help you, although we can't fight against the Dark Demon race, we don't have to fear the Madman League, Immortal Slaying Hall, and Anti-Immortal Alliance. It was obvious that Jin Tiantao had a detailed understanding of Mo Qingyun's situation. When Jin Tiantao spoke of Mo Qingyun's deeds, he was filled with regret. If he had known, he would not have offended Mo Qingyun. It was not the first time he heard of Mo Qingyun's strength, but he chose to doubt it. Now, he was going to pay a painful and huge price for his foolish actions. I don't care about the Madman League, Immortal Slaying Hall, and Anti-Immortal Alliance. I don't need you to help me intimidate them. Mo Qingyun curled his lips in disdain at Jin Tiantao's words. His face was full of mockery. As for the Dark Demon race, since you can't help, what's the use of keeping you? Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Jin Tiantao immediately panicked. His body trembled. According to Mo Qingyun's words, he was of no use. While Jin Tiantao was talking to Mo Qingyun, his subordinates looked at Qian Linglong. Judging by their postures, it seemed that they were going to attack Qian Linglong and capture her to threaten Mo Qingyun. Jin Tiantao's subordinates exchanged glances, and he attacked Qian Linglong. Seeing the actions of his subordinates, Jin Tiantao's expression immediately brightened. He sneered proudly and said, Mo Qingyun, when my subordinates capture your woman, let's see what you can do to me. Jin Tiantao's smug look made it seem as if his subordinates had already captured Qian Linglong. In Jin Tiantao's opinion, although Mo Qingyun's strength was terrifying, Qian Linglong might not be the same. Seeing Jin Tiantao's reaction, Mo Qingyun could not help but shake his head. His eyes were full of sympathy. Jin Tiantao should be the one who said that he did not know that he was about to die. What can I do to you? Mo Qingyun's lips curled into a mocking smile. He was not in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he smiled and said, Don't worry. You will know soon whether I can do to you or not." While Mo Qingyun was talking, Qian Linglong stood up coldly and looked at Jin Tiantao's subordinates. Then the aura that Qian Linglong exuded changed dramatically. At the same time, a terrifying aura exploded from Qian Linglong's body. Sensing Qian Linglong's aura, Jin Tiantao and his subordinates were stunned. They stared at Qian Linglong with their eyes wide open. The peak of the middle stage of the Sage realm. This woman's cultivation was infinitely close to the later stage of the Sage realm. At this moment, Jin Tiantao finally understood why Mo Qingyun was so calm. After understanding the reason, Jin Tiantao immediately pulled a long face. It was as if his father had died. This time he was overjoyed. Once again, he had underestimated Mo Qingyun's ability. It was one thing for this fellow to be powerful, but even the woman beside him was also unreasonably powerful. Thousand Illusions' sacred shadow kill. Qian Linglong's body swayed, and suddenly there were thousands of clones. Each of them exuded a powerful aura. Suddenly, thousands of clones of Qian Linglong descended from the sky and attacked Jin Tiantao's subordinates. At this moment, the scene was like a fairy scattering flowers. It gave people a dreamy and wonderful feeling. However, under this wonderful feeling, there was a hidden murderous intent. It made people's hearts tremble. Suddenly, Qian Linglong, who was floating down from the sky, turned into a series of afterimages and attacked Jin Tiantao's subordinates. Bang, bang, bang. In a short while, the people who attacked Qian Linglong were all sent flying. 11, judging by their looks, they had lost the ability to fight. They had been crippled by Qian Linglong in one move. After crippling Jin Tiantao's subordinates, Qian Linglong showed a shy expression. She blinked her eyes at Mo Qingyun and said, "Qingyun, I'm sorry. I haven't fought for a long time. I couldn't control my strength. It's okay. Just fight a few more times." Chapter 2058. Under Mo Qingyun's question, Jin Tiantao's expression was as ugly as it could get. After stuttering for a long time, he still couldn't answer Mo Qingyun's question. He knew very well that he had overdone it this time, and had been slapped in the face by Mo Qingyun. "Since you have nothing to say, I can only send you on your way." Mo Qingyun's expression turned cold. He immediately raised his hand and blasted it at Jin Tiantao. In an instant, it landed on Jin Tiantao's head. Seeing the palm strike him, Jin Tiantao immediately widened his eyes, unable to accept this result. He really didn't expect that Mo Qingyun wouldn't even give him a chance to beg for mercy. Then, with unwillingness, fear, and regret, Jin Tiantao's soul was destroyed by Mo Qingyun's palm strike. After killing Jin Tiantao, Mo Qingyun's expression didn't change at all. He looked indifferently at Jin Tiantao's subordinates and said, "I will give you a chance now. If you are willing to submit to me, I can spare your lives." In Mo Qingyun's eyes, Jin Tiantao's subordinates were different from Jin Tiantao's situation. They obeyed Jin Tiantao mostly because of some benefits and temporarily worked for the Tsunami Spear sect. Therefore, Mo Qingyun didn't have to worry about dealing with the Tsunami Spear sect if he subdued them. If he subdued Jin Tiantao, the situation would be much more complicated. At that time, because Jin Tiantao had submitted, he couldn't be ruthless to the Tsunami Spear sect. But if he didn't, and the Tsunami Spear sect didn't submit, the situation would become very complicated. Therefore, Mo Qingyun would rather kill Jin Tiantao than have him submit to him. Of course, Mo Qingyun killed Jin Tiantao mainly because he wanted to use this opportunity to establish his power. He wanted to use this to deter others from coming to the Sacred Hall of Alchemists and establish their own power here. At the same time, he wanted to tell the Dark Demon race that his revenge had begun. Upon hearing Mo Qingyun's question, Jin Tiantao's subordinates wore bitter expressions. Just like Jin Tiantao, these people also stuttered for a long time without saying a complete sentence. Looking at their expressions, each and every one of them looked like they had eaten a bitter pill in mute. They looked like they had suffered unspeakable hardships. Seeing these people's reactions, Mo Qingyun immediately understood the reason and what they were thinking. If he was not mistaken, Jin Tiantao's subordinate sea of consciousness should have been implanted with a soul brand. In this way, it would be impossible for Mo Qingyun to subdue them. I've already given you a chance, but you didn't grasp it. You can't blame me for this. As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he did not waste any more words with these people. He raised his hand and killed them all. Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, the surrounding people's expressions changed. They were even more afraid of Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun's actions were too decisive. There was no sloppiness at all. It could be seen that he was a calm and decisive person. Mo Qingyun's methods are so ruthless. He didn't hesitate to kill Jin Tiantao at all. Jin Tiantao miscalculated this time. He actually provoked such a ruthless person like Mo Qingyun. If you walk by the river often, how can your shoes not be wet? Jin Tiantao should have expected this day. Just now, Mo Qingyun seemed to have said that he wanted to find the Dark Demon race for revenge. Looks like the Dark Demon race is going to have a headache. Encountering such an enemy, if they can't get rid of him, they will not be able to eat or sleep in peace. Everyone whispered at the side. They felt sad for Jin Tiantao and worried for the Dark Demon race. Under everyone's respectful gazes, Mo Qingyun's expression was solemn. He looked around and said, "Today, I will announce that this place will be the base of my force. No matter which force dares to occupy this place, don't blame me for being ruthless in the future." As Mo Qingyun's words fell, he raised his hand and grabbed at a mountain peak. A terrifying force erupted from his palm. Boom, boom, boom. Under Mo Qingyun's grasp, the entire mountain peak was uprooted from the ground, causing the ground to shake. Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, everyone's expression immediately became tense. They stared with their eyes wide open, not daring to speak. Grabbing the mountain peak in front of him, he continuously waved his palm at the mountain peak, carving out a huge wall on the mountain peak. When the huge wall appeared, Mo Qingyun waved his finger again, carving 4 words on the wall. Creation Immortal Sect. Seeing Mo Qingyun carving these 4 words, everyone was puzzled. They didn't understand Mo Qingyun's intention. What is Mo Qingyun doing? It seems like he's carving a sect's name on a stone tablet. But what kind of force is Creation Immortal Sect? Could it be Mo Qingyun's sect? A force that can nurture Mo Qingyun should be very powerful. I've never heard of Creation Immortal Sect. Did you guys hear it just now? Mo Qingyun wants to establish a force, and this force is Creation Immortal Sect. I wonder if Mo Qingyun's force will recruit rogue cultivators with backgrounds like mine. It would be great if they do. Even if they do you dare to join Creation Immortal Sect? Don't forget, Mo Qingyun and the Dark Devil Tribe have a grudge. TCH, if I don't join Creation Immortal Sect, the Dark Devil Tribe won't do anything to me. I also think that joining Creation Immortal Sect is a good idea. What if Creation Immortal Sect rises? For a moment, everyone had their own opinions and argued on the side. Mo Qingyun ignored everyone's actions and walked indifferently towards Qianlinglong. Mo Qingyun came to Qianlinglong's side and picked up the teacup. He casually took a sip and said, "The tea is a little cold." It seems that I was not decisive enough and wasted some time. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Qianlinglong nodded with a smile and did not express any opinion. After drinking the tea, Mo Qingyun did not want to stay any longer. He nodded at Qianlinglong and said, "Since Jin Tiantao and the others have been dealt with, let's not stay any longer. Let's set off for 1,000 illusions." Okay. Qianlinglong stood up and walked to Mo Qingyun's side, ready to set off with Mo Qingyun. Seeing that Qianlinglong had come to his side, Mo Qingyun took out the Shinzhou clan's flying boat and prepared to set off. The immortal desolate world was not close to the 1,000 illusions. It would take too long for the 2 of them to fly by themselves. Seeing that Mo Qingyun had taken out the flying boat of the Shinzhou clan, the surrounding people were shocked again. They admired Mo Qingyun even more. Mo Qingyun even had a flying boat of the Shinzhou clan. He was really unexpected. Under everyone's gaze, Mo Qingyun and Qian Linglong walked into the flying boat and left. Mo Qingyun and Qian Linglong have left. Let's hurry up and leave too. That's right. Jin Tiantao and the others died here. We can't stay here any longer. The death of Jin Tiantao and the others will definitely anger Jing Chuxiong. He will search the entire immortal desolate world for the murderer. Jing Chuxiong can't find Mo Qingyun. He might vent his anger on the people here. It's better to leave the immortal desolate world as soon as possible. After Mo Qingyun and Qian Linglong left, the others did not stay and left the alchemist temple ruins. Chapter 2059. As everyone left the ruins of the alchemist temple, the news of Jin Tiantao and the others being killed slowly spread. Not long after, the sect master of the Tsunami Spear sect, Jing Chuxiong, learned that his son was killed. In the conference hall of the Tsunami Spear sect. What? Tiantao, Elder Hu Rong, and the others were killed? The sect master of the Tsunami Spear sect, Jing Chuxiong, was shocked when he heard the news of Jin Tiantao's death. He said angrily, Elder Baihua, have you investigated this matter? You should know the consequences of spreading rumors about Tao Er's death. Jing Chuxiong didn't want to believe that Jin Tiantao and the others would be killed by someone with such a lineup. Sect Master, this matter is absolutely true. This subordinate wouldn't dare to lie. Under Jing Chuxiong's cold gaze, Bai Hua was frightened and quickly confirmed with Jing Chuxiong. Seeing Bai Hua's reaction, Jing Chuxiong accepted the reality and his face became ferocious. He roared, Tell me, who is so bold to kill my Tao and the Saint Realm Elders of the Tsunami Spear sect? Sect Master, this person is Mo Qingyun, the one who fought against the four forces in the ancestral tomb of the Sorcerer faction 10 years ago. Under Jing Chuxiong's questioning, Bai Hua answered in a panic and glanced at a young man beside him. This young man was the third holy son of the Dark Devil clan, Ziyun Shao. The Tsunami Divine Spear sect was basically under his control now. Glancing at Ziyun Shao, Bai Hua remembered the rumor about Mo Qingyun and could not help but worry for Jing Chuxiong. With Mo Qingyun's means and strength, it would be difficult for Jing Chuxiong to take revenge. In the ancestral tomb of the Sorcerer faction, ZK and the others formed a team that was much stronger than the Tsunami Spear sect. More importantly, Mo Qingyun's strength was much stronger than before. Mo Qingyun? Hearing Bai Hua's words, Jing Chuxiong frowned and his expression became serious. Although he wanted to take revenge for Jin Tiantao, he knew that he could not do anything to Mo Qingyun. Thinking of this, Jing Chuxiong looked at Ziyun Shao and asked for help. Holy Son Yin Shao, do you have any good suggestions about Mo Qingyun? Mo Qingyun? Under Jing Chuxiong's gaze, Ziyun Shao smiled disdainfully and said, I admit that he's a genius. His strength and natural talent are very good. But that's only the him of the past. He may not be the same now. Hearing Ziyun Shao's words, Jing Chuxiong was immediately curious. He did not understand what Ziyun Shao meant. From Bai Hua's description, Mo Qingyun's cultivation level had obviously increased. He had entered the nine heavens mystic immortal realm. In this way, Mo Qingyun's current strength was naturally stronger than before. However, Ziyun Shao had said that Mo Qingyun's current strength was inferior to his former strength. Isn't this contradictory? Under Jing Chuxiong's puzzled gaze, Ziyun Shao smiled and said proudly, Sect Master Jing, there are some secrets that you don't know. The reason why Mo Qingyun is so powerful is because he has a superpower that can borrow the power of the outside world. Is there such a thing? Jing Chuxiong was shocked. His curiosity grew as he waited for Ziyun Shao to continue. Under Jing Chuxiong's curious gaze, Ziyun Shao sneered and said, According to Divine Ancestor ZK's guess, Mo Qingyun's superpower may have come from the Gate of Fortune. However, the Gate of Fortune has been destroyed by Ding Zhao. He should have lost the superpower that can borrow the power of the outside world. Therefore, he is not scary now. If Mo Qingyun was here and heard Zi Yunxiao's words, he would admire him. The third holy son of the Dark Devil clan was not simple. He was not just talented. His analytical ability was enough to give his enemies a headache. Hearing Zi Yunxiao's words, Jing Chuxiong's expression turned better. Then he asked in confusion, Holy Son Yunxiao, if Mo Qingyun is not as powerful as before, how could he kill Tiantao and the others? Sect Master Jing, you are confused because you are too concerned. You didn't listen to Elder Bai Hua's words. Hearing Jing Chuxiong's puzzled words, Zi Yunxiao smiled faintly and began to analyze for him. Just now, Elder Bai Hua clearly said that the person who killed Elder Hurong was not Mo Qingyun, but a woman beside Mo Qingyun. Yes. Thank you for reminding me, Holy Son Yunxiao. I indeed neglected this point. With Zi Yunxiao's reminder, Jing Chuxiong suddenly understood. A cold smile appeared on his face, and he said, Mo Qingyun, since he has lost that powerful ability, just wait for my revenge. Seeing Jing Chuxiong's reaction, Zi Yunxiao sneered again and said, Sect Master Jing, if I am not wrong, the girl beside Mo Qingyun should be the saintess of the 1,000 illusions, Qian Linglong. Since Qian Linglong is still alive, they will definitely go to the 1,000 illusions. The saintess of the 1,000 illusions? Jing Chuxiong's expression changed. He squinted his eyes and understood Zi Yunxiao's meaning. He said, Holy Son Yunxiao, are you telling me to go to the 1,000 illusions and wait for them? That's right. Seeing that Jing Chuxiong had guessed his meaning, Zi Yunxiao praised him and nodded. He stood up from his chair and said, Coincidentally, I am going to the 1,000 illusions as well. Gather the people, and we will go to the 1,000 illusions immediately. Yes, I will do it right away. Hearing Zi Yunxiao's order, Jing Chuxiong immediately went to gather the people to the 1,000 illusions. While Jing Chuxiong and the others were gathering the people, Mo Qingyun had already arrived at the Floating Dragon Ancient Kingdom in the Divine Wasteland Domain. This is the Floating Dragon Ancient Kingdom. When I first came to the Wasteland Continent, I stayed here. When Mo Qingyun arrived at the Floating Dragon Ancient Kingdom, he revealed a nostalgic expression and told Qian Linglong about himself. Hearing Mo Qingyun's story, Qian Linglong revealed a curious expression and silently sat beside Mo Qingyun. After a while, Qian Linglong's pretty face changed and she revealed a mischievous smile. She said, Qingyun, I am very curious about the places you have been to. I want to take a look around the Floating Dragon Ancient Kingdom. It won't take much time anyway. Okay. Mo Qingyun immediately nodded and agreed to Qian Linglong's request and left the airship with her. Then, Mo Qingyun and Qian Linglong flew on their own and prepared to go to the places Mo Qingyun had been to. As Mo Qingyun and Qian Linglong hurried on their way, the people in front of them hurriedly rushed in their direction. Seeing the behavior of these people, Mo Qingyun and Qian Linglong exchanged a look. They were both curious and puzzled. Chapter 2060. Fellow Taoist, why are all of you in such a hurry? Where are you going? Mo Qingyun stopped one of them and asked him about the situation. He wanted to know what had happened. In Mo Qingyun's opinion, there were only two possibilities for these people's current actions. One was that the Dark Devil clan had attacked and destroyed their sects, so they were fleeing to save their lives. The other was that they had discovered an ancient secret realm and were rushing to its location. When the person was stopped by Mo Qingyun, he sensed Mo Qingyun's powerful aura and revealed a respectful expression. He said, Senior, tomorrow is Senior Shuelong's 600,000th birthday. Senior Shuelong has announced that he will choose a final disciple on his birthday. We're going to celebrate his birthday and try our luck to see if we can be accepted as his final disciple. I see. Realization dawned on Mo Qingyun when he heard the person's words. The doubts in his heart were suddenly resolved. With Shuelong's influence in the Tao of formations, his announcement that he would choose a final disciple would indeed attract a lot of attention. Shuelong's birthday must be very interesting. I can't miss such an event. When he thought of the trouble Shui Long had caused him in the shaman faction's ancestral tomb, Mo Qingyun quickly came up with a plan. In fact, the trouble Shui Long had caused him back then was much greater than the trouble Yinpeng and Yinpeng had caused him. Originally, he wanted to cause trouble for Shui Long. Now that he had encountered him, he naturally couldn't miss it. Linglong, since it's Saint Formation Master Shui Long's birthday, let's go and join in the fun. After Mo Qingyun made up his mind, he no longer hesitated and immediately hinted to Qian Linglong. When she heard Mo Qingyun's words, Qian Linglong immediately nodded and accepted Mo Qingyun's suggestion. She already knew about Mo Qingyun's experience in the shaman faction's ancestral tomb. She knew about the hatred between Mo Qingyun and Shui Long. Therefore, when she heard Mo Qingyun's words, she guessed Mo Qingyun's thoughts. Naturally, she wouldn't stop Mo Qingyun. Fellow Taoist, please lead the way. After communicating with Qian Linglong, Mo Qingyun hinted to this person to take him to see Shui Long. Hearing Mo Qingyun's order, the man didn't dare to hesitate and immediately led the way. While this person was leading the way for Mo Qingyun, he glanced at Qian Linglong and furrowed his brows as he said, "Senior, there are many people who are going to celebrate Senior Shui Long's birthday. There are all sorts of people there. This senior is devastatingly beautiful. When the time comes, I'm afraid it will cause quite a commotion. I think she should change her appearance." Hearing this person's reminder, Mo Qingyun and Qian Linglong looked at each other and smiled. Their impression of this person had greatly improved. Although it was an ordinary reminder, it could be seen from this that this person's character was not bad. Don't worry, there are only a handful of people in the wild continent who can touch us. Mo Qingyun had a calm expression on his face as he responded to this person. He then revealed a faint smile. Seeing Mo Qingyun's reaction, the man was slightly confused, but he didn't ask any further. "What's your name? Which faction are you from?" "Senior, my name is Tan Xingping. I'm just an ordinary rogue cultivator." A rogue cultivator. Under the current circumstances, the situation of rogue cultivators isn't optimistic at all. That's why I'm going to celebrate Senior Shui Long's birthday to try my luck. Along the way, Mo Qingyun and Qian Linglong chatted. In the process of chatting, Tan Heping revealed his identity and origin without holding back. After learning Tan Heping's identity and background, Mo Qingyun was dumbfounded. Tan Heping was from the Weapon Talisman sect. He was one of Tan Linzhan's granduncles, thus Mo Qingyun Sr. Mo Qingyun didn't know whether to laugh or cry after hearing the news. His feelings were slightly complicated. "Do you know Tan Linzhan from the Weapon Talisman sect?" Mo Qingyun was a little excited after learning Tan Heping's background. He confirmed with Tan Heping once again. When he heard Mo Qingyun's question, Tan Heping's body immediately shook, and he stared at Mo Qingyun with wide eyes as he said in shock, "Say, Senior, could this Tan Linzhan you speak of be the Immortal Path and Equipment Talisman sect's Tan Linzhan? Is Senior from the Immortal Path too?" At that instant, Tan Heping's gaze toward Mo Qingyun underwent a great change. There were complicated feelings, excitement, surprise, awe, and so on. He could not believe there was an expert like Mo Qingyun among the people who had ascended from the Immortal Path. As far as he knew, the strongest among the people who had ascended from the Immortal Path was only at the Golden Immortal Realm. Although he wasn't sure about Mo Qingyun's cultivation, he was certain that Mo Qingyun was definitely at the Golden Immortal Realm or above. That's right. Mo Qingyun did not hide anything from Tan Heping's question. He gave a simple reply and said, "I'll tell you about my specific identity and my relationship with Tan Linzhan later. For now, let's go to Shui Long's residence." All right. Although Tan Heping was curious about Mo Qingyun's identity, he did not ask any more questions after hearing Mo Qingyun's words. Next, Mo Qingyun and the other two chatted as they walked, heading toward Shui Long's residence at a moderate pace. After a few hours, Mo Qingyun and the other two hurried to Shui Long's residence. When they arrived at Shui Long's residence, Tan Heping went to deliver the congratulatory gift and returned to Mo Qingyun's side. He said, "Senior, I've already delivered the congratulatory gift. With my identity, I can't enter the residence. I'll wait for you outside. Why didn't you even enter the Shui residence? Why did you come here to deliver the congratulatory gift? And why did you take Shui Long as your master? Seeing Tan Heping's actions, Mo Qingyun immediately became annoyed. He really couldn't understand what this guy was thinking. In Mo Qingyun's view, if Tan Heping could not even enter the Shui residence, then wouldn't his gift have been for nothing? I just came here to try my luck. Tan Heping awkwardly smiled at Mo Qingyun's question. He seemed very embarrassed as he explained, I came here to deliver the congratulatory gift in hopes that when Senior Shui Long goes through the gifts, he'll coincidentally notice my name. After learning Tan Heping's thoughts, Mo Qingyun was completely speechless. He had been defeated by this guy's thoughts. The chances were just too low. Forget it. Follow me. I'll take you to the Shui residence. Mo Qingyun waved his hand at Tan Heping before walking towards Shui Long's residence. He did not even deliver the congratulatory gift. Mo Qingyun was here to cause trouble. Asking him to deliver a congratulatory gift to Shui Long was just a joke. If Mo Qingyun really wanted to give a gift, it would be a coffin. Shui Long would probably not accept it. Seeing that Mo Qingyun did not even deliver the congratulatory gift and directly walked into the Shui residence, Tan Heping immediately became shocked. He said, Senior, why didn't you deliver the congratulatory gift? If we're discovered, we won't be able to clean up the mess. Hearing Tan Heping's worried words, Mo Qingyun faintly smiled and waved his hand as if he didn't care at all. He said, Shui Long won't dare to accept my gift. You don't need to worry. Shui Long won't dare to cause trouble for me. Chapter 2061. Tan Heping was so shocked by Mo Qingyun's actions that he couldn't come back to his senses for a long time. In his opinion, Mo Qingyun's actions were simply too daring. Who was Shui Long? He was a powerful Saint Array master whose reputation spread far and wide on the Wasteland continent. Mo Qingyun actually didn't even give him a congratulatory gift on his birthday. This was clearly an insult. Tan Heping felt a headache coming on when he thought of this. He prayed in his heart that this wasn't the case. While Tan Heping was pondering this, he thought of another possibility. Mo Qingyun didn't give him a congratulatory gift. Perhaps his relationship with Shui Long was very good, and he would give it to Shui Long in person later. Was this really the case? Tan Heping rejected this idea as soon as it appeared. Earlier, he had clearly heard Mo Qingyun say that Shui Long didn't dare accept his gift. Clearly, Mo Qingyun and Shui Long didn't have a particularly good relationship. Could it be that Mr. Mo's status is so noble that Saint Array Master Shui Long can't accept his gift? Tan Heping let his imagination run wild for a while before he discarded these distracting thoughts. He followed behind Mo Qingyun and said, Forget it. It's useless to think about this now. The situation is already out of my control. I hope I didn't misjudge him. In Tan Heping's opinion, Mo Qingyun wasn't a fool. He definitely wouldn't joke around with his own life. Therefore, he definitely had his reasons for daring to do this now. When Mo Qingyun walked into the Shui residence, a few guards went up to greet him, as if they were prepared to stop Mo Qingyun. When he saw this scene, Tan Heping was immediately frightened out of his wits. His heart was in his throat. Whatever he was afraid of, it would come. If someone discovered that Mo Qingyun didn't give him a congratulatory gift, it would be very difficult to clean up the mess. However, what surprised Tan Heping was that when the guard approached Mo Qingyun, they revealed a respectful expression and said, Senior, please come in. Is there anything you need from me? Looking at the abnormal scene in front of him, Tan Heping was dumbfounded. He felt that his brain wasn't working properly. After a momentary daze, Tan Heping hurriedly caught up and entered the Shui residence with Mo Qingyun. At this moment, Tan Heping looked at Mo Qingyun with eyes full of admiration. Too awesome. He didn't even send a congratulatory gift, yet he could still make people treat him with such respect. This wasn't something an ordinary person could do. Senior Mo is indeed amazing. Following behind Mo Qingyun, Tan Heping inwardly sighed. At the same time, he secretly rejoiced. Looks like coming to the Shui estate this time was the wisest choice. Even if I can't catch the eye of Senior Shuelong, being able to befriend Senior Mo is also a great fortune. Tan Heping didn't know that when the guards were blocking Mo Qingyun, Mo Qingyun had used his soul force to intimidate them. With Mo Qingyun's powerful soul force, once he displayed his soul pressure, even ordinary saint stage experts couldn't compare to it. In this way, the guards whose cultivation was only at the first and second layer of the nine heavens Xian immortal realm were naturally unable to withstand his soul pressure. In the eyes of these guards, there was no doubt that Mo Qingyun was a saint stage expert, and not an ordinary one at that. For an expert like Mo Qingyun, they naturally had to treat him specially and couldn't use ordinary methods. Even if Mo Qingyun didn't send a congratulatory gift, they couldn't ask about it, so as to avoid causing Mo Qingyun's displeasure. It couldn't be helped. Mo Qingyun's identity was too noble. They couldn't receive him. After Mo Qingyun entered the Shui estate, he didn't walk around and casually found a seat to sit down. Seeing Mo Qingyun sit down, Tan Heping quickly walked over and sat beside Mo Qingyun. Although he was sitting beside Mo Qingyun, Tan Heping still had a nervous expression on his face. He felt like he was sitting on a carpet of needles. It couldn't be helped. The strength of the people around him was too strong. The weakest was at the golden immortal realm. Under the pressure of their auras, he felt that it was difficult to breathe. It was as if a mountain was pressing down on him. At this moment, when Tan Heping was nervous, a middle-aged man walked in front of him and said with a sinister smile, "Oh, isn't this Tan Heping? You actually sneaked into the Shui estate. You're quite bold." Hearing this person's words, Tan Heping immediately panicked and looked at Mo Qingyun. Seeing Tan Heping's pleading gaze, Mo Qingyun glanced at the middle-aged man and said, "I brought him in. Do you have any objections?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the middle-aged man frowned slightly and glanced at Mo Qingyun. When he discovered Mo Qingyun's cultivation, his eyes flashed with disdain and said in disdain, "A nine heavens Xian immortal realm kid actually dares to show off here. You don't have the qualifications to bring people into the estate. Immediately get Tan Heping out of the Shui estate." Chen Yi, watch your words. Don't be rude to Senior Mo. Seeing the actions of the people in front of him, Tan Heping's face sank and immediately scolded the former. Chen Yi curled his lips in disdain at Tan Heping's angry words and sneered indifferently. "Tan Heping, don't forget that our sect master is Senior Shuelong's disciple. If you don't want him to scram with you, you should know what's good for you and scram." Hearing Chen Yi's words, Tan Heping's face immediately turned ugly. He gritted his teeth and said angrily, "Chen Yi, don't go too far. Doing this won't benefit you. Are you threatening me? I'm scared. What should I do?" Chen Yi pretended to be flustered at Tan Heping's words and sneered at Tan Heping. "Scram, get out of the Shui estate immediately. I don't want to say it a second time." Noisy. Seeing Chen Yi's action, Mo Qingyun's face sank, and he waved his hand at Chen Yi. With a wave of Mo Qingyun's hand, a terrifying force immediately erupted and blasted Chen Yi flying. Seeing Mo Qingyun's action, Tan Heping was instantly stunned and his eyes widened. He really didn't expect that Mo Qingyun would actually make a move on Shuelong's birthday. Not only was Tan Heping dumbfounded, even Chen Yi was dumbfounded. He never expected that the young man before him would actually dare to make a move on him. "Kid, you actually dare to make a move on me. Do you know the identity of our sect master?" After a momentary daze, Chen Yi's expression turned cold as he questioned Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun's expression did not change when he heard Chen Yi's words. He indifferently said, "I don't care who your sect master is. If you're unhappy, you can call your sect master over. I don't mind taking care of him as well." "You." Chen Yi's face immediately darkened when he saw Mo Qingyun's domineering attitude. He furiously glared at Mo Qingyun and said, "Kid, just you wait. This matter isn't over." Chen Yi left these words behind before he dejectedly left. From the looks of it, he was in a call for reinforcements. Mo Qingyun paid no attention to Chen Yi's actions as he sat there with an indifferent expression. Chapter 2062. Mo Qingyun didn't care, but Tan Hepping couldn't do the same. Seeing this situation, he immediately panicked. Mo Qingyun actually dared to provoke the Fire Beacon Array sect. Wasn't this the same as provoking Shuelong? As the saying goes, even a powerful dragon can't suppress a local snake. Mo Qingyun causing trouble in Shuelong's residence was not a wise move. If this matter was blown out of proportion, even if Mo Qingyun's ability was great, it wouldn't be easy to clean up the mess. One had to know that everyone who came to the Shui residence today were people who had friendly relations with Shuelong. The more Tan Hepping thought about it, the more scared and alarmed he became. He hurriedly advised Mo Qingyun, Senior Mo, the Fire Beacon Array sect's sect master, Jiang Dessen, is Senior Shuelong's disciple in name. If you argue with him, it's the same as provoking Senior Shuelong. We definitely won't be able to get anything out of it. Why don't you leave the Shui residence? Don't worry, it's just a small Fire Beacon Array sect. It can't cause any waves in front of me. Looking at the flustered Tan Hepping, Mo Qingyun faintly smiled and waved his hand. He didn't have the slightest intention of leaving. In addition, I came to the Shui residence today to settle a score with Shuelong. Even if he didn't come to find me, I would have gone to find him later. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Tan Hepping immediately opened his mouth wide. He was completely dumbfounded. After all this time, Mo Qingyun came to the Shui residence to cause trouble. Thinking of this, Tan Hepping didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He was defeated by Mo Qingyun's actions. Mo Qingyun was truly too amazing. Ordinary people wouldn't dare to do such a thing. I hope Senior Mo has some trump card that can let him not fear Senior Shuelong. Understanding Mo Qingyun's true intentions, Tan Hepping no longer tried to persuade him. He silently prayed in his heart. At this time, he had no choice but to believe in Mo Qingyun. While Mo Qingyun and Tan Hepping were talking, Chenny came to a courtyard and prepared to report Mo Qingyun's matter. At this moment, many people were sitting in the courtyard. The person sitting in the middle of the courtyard was Shuelong, the person Mo Qingyun was looking for. Greetings, seniors, sect master, junior sect master, and seniors. Chenny walked into the courtyard and bowed to everyone. He then walked to Jiang Dessen's side and said, Sect Lord, this subordinate has something to report. When Chenny said this, he glanced at Shuelong with a hesitant look. Seeing Chen Yi's action, Jiang Dessen was displeased and said coldly, We're all on the same side here. You don't have to worry about anything. If you have something to say, just say it. Hearing Jiang Dessen's order, Chen Yi did not dare to hesitate any longer and immediately reported to Jiang Dessen, Sect Master, there's a brat who not only disturbed Senior Shui's birthday celebration, but also insulted our Fire Beacon Array sect and threatened to teach Sect Master a lesson. What? This person is really bold. This old man wants to see what kind of ability he has. Oomph. Today is Senior Shui's birthday. He actually dares to cause trouble here. I think he's tired of living. Sect Master, let's go take a look and teach that brat a lesson. Senior Shui, Sect Master, you guys wait here. I'll go capture that brat and bring him over for you to deal with. Hearing Chen Yi's report, some of the Fire Beacon Array sect's elders immediately showed furious looks. Seeing the elders' actions, Jiang Dessen hurriedly raised his hand and said, Today is Master's birthday celebration. Don't cause trouble here. He's just a nobody. Just ignore him. Hearing Jiang Dessen's words, the Fire Beacon Array sect's elders immediately revealed unwilling expressions. In their view, no matter what the situation was, the other party could not be easily forgiven for insulting the Fire Beacon Array sect. While the elders were displeased, a young man beside Jiang Dessen had a sly look in his eyes and said, Father, I don't agree with your way of doing things. If it were normal times, it's fine to ignore this kind of person. But today's situation is different. Today is Grandmaster's birthday. He insulted the Fire Beacon Array sect here, which is indirectly provoking Grandmaster. Hearing the young man's words, The others in the courtyard all nodded. They felt that the young man's words made sense. Junior Dessen, I feel that Ijia is right. We can't just let this matter go. The birthday celebration hasn't started yet. The impact of this brat causing trouble isn't great. It'll be troublesome if he causes trouble once the celebration starts. That's right. In order to prevent him from causing trouble again, we should take him down first. Xuelong's other disciples all voiced their opinions. Hearing everyone's words, Jiang Dessen immediately nodded in agreement. He agreed with the senior brother's suggestion and said, since that's the case, I'll deal with that brat first. I'll accompany Master later. After Jiang Dessen's words, he no longer hesitated and prepared to deal with Mo Qingyan. When Jiang Dessen moved, the young man beside him stood up and smiled faintly. Father, you continue to accompany Grandmaster. Leave this kind of small matter to me. I haven't done much at Grandmaster's birthday celebration today. Let me maintain it now. Jiang Dessen hesitated for a moment when he heard Jiang Ijia, and then he looked at the others with a requesting gaze. When they saw Jiang Dessen's gaze, the others nodded successively and agreed to Jiang Ijia's request. Grandmaster, martial uncles, I'll be leaving first. When he saw everyone agree to his request, Jiang Ijia bid his farewells and left the small courtyard. When Jiang Ijia left, the elders of the Fire Beacon Formation sect left with Jiang Ijia as well. Jiang Ijia was only at the 4th level of the 9 Heavens' mysterious immortal realm, and they were worried that Jiang Ijia wouldn't be able to deal with this matter properly with his cultivation. Thus, accompanying Jiang Ijia would allow them to have an additional layer of protection. After they left the small courtyard, Jiang Ijia's expression turned gloomy, and he ordered in a deep voice, Chani, where's that kid? Immediately bring me over to see him. Yes. Chani replied, and walked forward to lead the way for Jiang Ijia and the others. In next to no time, everyone arrived before Mo Qingyun under Chen Yi's lead. Chen Yi revealed a cold smile when he led Jiang Ijia and the others over, and then he looked at Mo Qingyun with a complacent expression as he said, Kid, this is the young lord of our Fire Beacon Formation sect. Now, let me see how you'll continue being arrogant before me. When he heard Chen Yi's complacent words, Mo Qingyun turned to look at Jiang Ijia and said calmly, Originally, I only intended to deal with Xuelong alone. Since all of you are Xuelong's disciples and have taken the initiative to stand out, I'll teach all of you a lesson first as a warm-up for teaching Xuelong a lesson. Kid, you really came to look for trouble. Jiang Ijia's expression instantly became unsightly when he heard Mo Qingyun, and his body emanated a strand of coldness as he said furiously, I was originally thinking that today is the Grandmaster's birthday, and I don't want to shed blood during the banquet. Looks like I have to change my mind. As soon as Jiang Ijia finished speaking, he waved his hand to everyone behind him and said, All of you don't make a move. I'm going to capture this kid and use it as a congratulatory gift for the Grandmaster's birthday. Chapter 2063. Everyone felt that Mo Qingyun was only at the 1st level of the 9 Heavens' profound immortal realm, so he probably wasn't a match for Jiang Ijia. Most importantly, they were watching from the side, and they could interfere at any moment if something went wrong. As for Qianling Long, who was by Mo Qingyun's side, they ignored her because they couldn't sense any fluctuation of aura from her. As far as they were concerned, Qianling Long had come with Mo Qingyun, so she was probably just an ordinary maidservant. Jiang Ijia smiled gloomily when he saw Chen Yi and the others retreat, and then he looked at Mo Qingyun and said, Kid, if you know what's good for you, then obediently allow yourself to be captured and follow me to Caodao, and admit your mistakes to martial ancestor, so as to avoid being captured by me by force. Since you've already suffered and lost face, I'm afraid it's impossible for me to Caodao and admit my mistakes to Xuelong. Mo Qingyun smiled faintly as he shook his head and replied calmly to Jiang Ijia, and then his tone became slightly arrogant. I don't mind telling you clearly that even if I'm willing to Caodao and admit my mistakes to Xuelong, he doesn't have the courage to accept it. As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he paid no further attention to Jiang Ijia, and his gaze descended onto Chun. Earlier, I asked you to call the sect master of the Fire Beacon Formation sect, yet you only called a few lackeys. Looks like your ears aren't very good, and there's no use in keeping them. As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, his gaze turned cold, and two strands of eye energy erupted from his eyes. Under the gaze of Mo Qingyun's eye energy, Chun Yi's ears were instantly shattered, and fresh blood instantly drenched his clothes. Ah, my ears! Chun immediately let out a shrill cry when his ears were destroyed by Mo Qingyun, and he looked coldly at Mo Qingyun. He never imagined that Mo Qingyun would actually dare to make a move against him under such circumstances. When he saw Mo Qingyun's domineering attitude, Chun Yi's gaze towards Mo Qingyun unconsciously carried a trace of fear. This young man was a ruthless person. He didn't act according to common sense, so it was better for him to be careful. If Mo Qingyun decided to fight to the death and drag him down with him, he would lose more than he could gain. Brat, you actually dared to injure my subordinates under my interrogation. Seeing Mo Qingyun injuring Chun Yi, Jiang Yijie immediately became furious. He felt that Mo Qingyun was humiliating him. Thinking of this, Jiang Yijie's face turned cold. He gritted his teeth and shouted angrily, "Since you refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit, then don't blame me. It's not that I don't want to give you a chance." Fire Beacon Azure Luan Array Disc. As soon as Jiang Yijie finished speaking, he took out a red Dharma treasure and charged towards Mo Qingyun and the other two. The scarlet Dharma treasure flew out of Jiang Yijie's hand and expanded rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a huge disc. Once this disc was formed, it emitted a powerful array power, enveloping Mo Qingyun and the other two inside. As soon as Jiang Yijie made his move, he immediately attracted the attention of others. They all looked over. "Hey, isn't that the young lord of the Fire Beacon Array sect, Jiang Yijie?" He actually took out the Fire Beacon Azure Luan Array Disc. The Fire Beacon Azure Luan Array Disc is the Fire Beacon Array sect's Dharma treasure. Who is so unlucky to have offended Jiang Yijie? Also, this person provoked Jiang Yijie in the Shui estate today. This is equivalent to indirectly provoking Saint Array Master Shuelong. No matter what, this person is going to be unlucky today. I'm afraid this matter won't end peacefully. The Fire Beacon Azure Luan Array Disc is a quasi-saint artifact. There's a saint array sealed within it. Its power is enough to defeat a saint realm expert. Looking at the current situation, the three people trapped by the Fire Beacon Azure Luan Array Disc can only last for 10 breaths of time at most. Seeing Jiang Yijie's actions, the crowd whispered, worried for Mo Qingyun and the other two. While the crowd was talking, Tan Heping, who was inside the Fire Beacon Azure Luan Array Disc, immediately showed a pained expression. He was only in the Golden Immortal Realm. Under the impact of the Saint Array Disc, he naturally couldn't withstand it. Seeing Tan Heping's appearance, Mo Qingyun released a surge of Saint Aura to help him resist the impact of the array. Under the cover of Mo Qingyun's Saint Aura, Tan Heping's expression immediately relaxed, and the pressure suddenly disappeared. Phew! Without the impact of the array, Tan Heping couldn't help but exhale and turn to look at Mo Qingyun. When he sensed Mo Qingyun's Saint Aura, he immediately widened his eyes and became excited. Saint Aura. Senior Mo actually released Saint Aura. Could he be a Saint Realm expert? Noticing Mo Qingyun's Saint Aura, Tan Heping swallowed his saliva and his heartbeat immediately sped up. In his opinion, Mo Qingyun could release Saint Aura, so he was naturally a Saint Realm expert. Thinking that he actually got to know a Saint Realm expert, Tan Heping couldn't remain calm, and ecstasy surged in his heart. His luck had taken a turn for the better. He actually obtained the recognition of Saint Realm expert. At this moment, he finally understood why Mo Qingyun wasn't afraid of Shuelong Sr. Senior Mo, you're a Saint Realm expert? Tan Heping asked Mo Qingyun excitedly, wanting to confirm his guess. Hearing Tan Heping's question, Mo Qingyun shook his head and replied, "I'm not a Saint Realm expert. My cultivation is only at the first level of the nine heavens Xian immortal realm. Hearing Tan Hepping's words, Mo Qingyun knew that Tan Hepping had misunderstood, so he calmly explained. Hearing Mo Qingyun's answer, Tan Hepping couldn't help but be stunned. He was a little surprised by Mo Qingyun's answer. After being stunned for a moment, Tan Hepping's eyes lit up again, and the way he looked at Mo Qingyun changed again. Mo Qingyun wasn't a Saint Realm expert, but he could release Saint Aura. This meant that he was a genius of the Saint Aura tribe. The Saint Aura tribe was the second strongest tribe on the 10,000 Ancient Tribes board. Thinking like this, Tan Hepping's expression became serious once more, and he hurriedly reminded Mo Qingyun. Senior Mo, this Fire Beacon Azure Phoenix Formation Disc is the sect guarding magic treasure of the Fire Beacon Array sect. You must not be careless in the slightest when dealing with it. Tan Hepping thought that since Mo Qingyun wasn't a Saint Realm expert, even if he was a genius of the Saint Aura tribe, it wouldn't be easy for him to deal with the Fire Beacon Green Luan Array disc. If Mo Qingyun was careless, he might suffer a loss. After all, the Fire Beacon Green Luan Array disc was very powerful. Seeing Tan Hepping's nervous expression, Mo Qingyun gave him a comforting smile and said, "Don't worry, it's just an ordinary Saint Array. It won't be difficult to break it." As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he quickly moved his hands and drew Saint runes one after another. Mo Qingyun's hand speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, the Saint runes he drew condensed into imprints. Once these imprints were formed, they flew towards the Fire Beacon Green Luan Array disc to break the Saint Array sealed within. Array runes. Is Senior Mo an immortal array master? Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, Tan Hepping's eyes widened and shock appeared on his face. Chapter 2064. Under Tan Hepping's shocked gaze, the light of the Fire Beacon Green Luan formation plate started to dim rapidly. At the same time, the Fire Beacon Phoenix formation disc's presence rapidly weakened as well. Tan Hepping shuddered when he saw this. He thought of a possibility. The Saint formation sealed within the Fire Beacon Phoenix formation disc had already been destroyed by Mo Qingyun. The formation sealed within the Fire Beacon Phoenix formation disc was a true Saint formation. Senior Mo actually destroyed it so easily. Tan Hepping's eyes immediately widened when he thought of the grade of the formations on the Fire Beacon Azure Luan's formation disc. He stared at Mo Qingyun in disbelief and thought to himself in surprise, Senior Mo can easily break through a Saint formation. Is he a Saint formation master, and not an ordinary one at that? Tan Hepping's heartbeat sped up when he thought of this. His head buzzed. He had come to celebrate Shuelong's birthday this time in the hopes of catching Shuelong's eye and becoming a disciple of a Saint Array master. Although he had not caught Shuelong's eye, he had become acquainted with a Saint Array master. This was just too surprising. F***K. I've actually become acquainted with a Saint Array master. I'm going to have a new lease on life. Thinking of his relationship with Mo Qingyun, Tan Hepping's heartbeat sped up. A strong sense of expectation welled up in his heart as he said, "With my relationship with Senior Mo, if I want to take him as my master, the chances of success may reach 30%. Tan Hepping's body trembled when he thought of this. His heart was about to leap out of his chest. A 30% chance of becoming a disciple of a Saint Array master. How exciting was that? If it weren't for Jiang Yijie and the others present, he might have already knelt down to become Mo Qingyun's disciple. Break! Under Tan Hepping's excited gaze, Mo Qingyun sent a palm strike towards the Fire Beacon Phoenix formation disc. He unleashed a terrifying force. When this mysterious power burst out, it emitted a monstrous demonic power and turned into a huge palm shadow. Boom! Under the bombardment of the palm shadows, the Fire Beacon Azure Luan's disc array was instantly blasted apart, emitting a heaven-shaking bang. Afterwards, the formation that enveloped Mo Qingyun's group vanished. Seeing such a scene, the surrounding people were all stunned, unable to recover for a long time. The magic treasure of the Fire Beacon Array sect, the Fire Beacon Azure Luan Array Disk, had been forcefully destroyed by someone. Am I seeing things? This person destroyed the Fire Beacon Green Phoenix's Array Disk? To think that a casual palm strike will be able to blow apart a quasi-sage artifact. This person's strength is truly terrifying. Is he really a first-level 9 Heavens Xian Immortal? Even ordinary saints don't possess such terrifying strength. Childish. Do you think you can see through the cultivation of a Saint Realm expert? You're all wrong. Compared to his strength, his attainments and formations are even more terrifying. That's right. If you want to destroy the Fire Beacon Azure Luan's formation disk, you must first destroy the formation sealed within it. To be able to break a saint-level formation in such a short period of time, his attainments and formations are not inferior to Senior Shuelong's. Based on his vital aura, his bone age is not more than 10,000 years old. Becoming a saint formation master within 10,000 years, this person's natural talent in formations is too heaven-defying. The Fire Beacon Array sect is going to suffer. Offending such a terrifying existence is absolutely something that will cause them to be unable to rest in peace. After they witnessed Mo Qingyun's ability, everyone started to whisper in discussion, and they felt worried for the Fire Beacon Array sect. Under the gazes of everyone, Jiang Yijia seemed to have been petrified, and he stood on the spot without moving. The magic treasure of their Fire Beacon Array sect was actually destroyed by Mo Qingyun, and the impact this had on him was too great. Of course, at the same time that he was shocked, there was even more terror in his heart. Mo Qingyun was able to destroy the Fire Beacon Azure Luan's formation disk, and this indicated that the strength he possessed had already attained the level of the Saint Realm. With their Fire Beacon Array sect strength, provoking such a powerhouse was absolutely a very troublesome matter. You want me to surrender without a fight? Don't tell me you relied on this trash. Looking at the dazed Jiang Yijia, Mo Qingyun gave him a disdainful smile and waved his hand at him, saying, "A brat who hasn't even grown his hair yet dares to learn from others. You'd better go home and drink milk for a few more years before coming out to make a fool of yourself." Under the wave of Mo Qingyun's palm, a powerful spiritual energy erupted, transforming into a violent whirlwind. Bang! Facing the powerful attack of the whirlwind, Jiang Yijia was directly blasted away, and he could not even put up the most basic resistance. Seeing Jiang Yijia being blasted away, the Fire Beacon Array sect's elders immediately went forward, wanting to catch Jiang Yijia. Bang, bang, bang. The Fire Beacon Array sect's elders had just approached the violent whirlwind when they were also blasted away. Not long after, Jiang Yijia and the Fire Beacon Array sect's elders were all blasted away, and they crashed into a row of houses. Seeing such a scene, the surrounding people were all dumbfounded. Each and every one of them had their mouths and eyes wide open. This situation really frightened them quite badly. They had never thought of it before. From Mo Qingyun's attack earlier, they guessed that Mo Qingyun's strength was very strong. But being strong to such an extent, they still did not expect it. So strong. Senior Mo is too strong. Looking at Mo Qingyun's performance, Tan Heping's expression was extremely agitated. Even his body could not help but tremble. The might of Mo Qingyun's strength already exceeded his understanding. He was worried. However, he did not care about this. In his view, the stronger Mo Qingyun was, the better. What he cared about was that if he succeeded in taking Mo Qingyun as his master, he would really have a meteoric rise, sending Jiang Yijia and the rest flying with one palm. Mo Qingyun found it hard to talk nonsense with him. Looking at the wretched Jiang Yijia and the rest, he said, "You guys go and send a message to Shuelong right now. Tell him to come here within 10 breaths. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless and turning his birthday into a sacrificial day." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Jiang Yijia's face immediately darkened. His expression was filled with rage. Mo Qingyun's words were too arrogant. This was not simply causing trouble. This was clearly coming to provoke them. Actually, Jiang Yijie and the rest did not know that Mo Qingyun was here today to seek revenge. If they knew about this, he would probably be shocked. Jiang Yijie glared at Mo Qingyun. He then left dejectedly, not letting out half a fart. He was very clear that if he uttered another word, he would be taught a lesson by Mo Qingyun again. In a short while, Jiang Yijie and the rest disappeared. They immediately ran to send a message to Shuai Long. Seeing Jiang Yijie and the rest leave dejectedly, Tan Heping came back to his senses. Revealing a worried expression, he said to Mo Qingyun, "Senior Mo, the fire beacon array sect's power is not scary. It's not troublesome for you to teach them a lesson. But now that you've provoked Senior Shuai Long, the consequences will be very troublesome." In Tan Heping's view, today was Shuai Long's birthday. Those who came here were all Shuai Long's friends. Chapter 2065. Don't worry, they're just a bunch of small fries. I don't care about them. Mo Qingyun responded to Tan Heping's words indifferently. He didn't care about the people around him at all. When Mo Qingyun said this, he didn't try to cover it up. Everyone heard what he said. When they heard Mo Qingyun's words, everyone's face immediately darkened. They all glared at Mo Qingyun angrily. In their opinion, Mo Qingyun's words were an insult to them. Boy, even if you're powerful, you can't be so arrogant. Although you have the strength of a Saint Realm expert, there are many Saint Realm experts here. You can't fight against them alone. If you don't want to die here, kowtow to everyone and admit your mistake. Maybe we'll spare you this time. Hurry up, kowtow, and admit your mistake. We'll spare your life. Everyone was furious and shouted at Mo Qingyun. Tan Heping immediately held his breath when he saw everyone's stance. He didn't even dare to breathe loudly. This kind of scene was too *king exciting for him. He had cultivated for tens of thousands of years, but he had never seen such a scene or encountered such a crisis. At this moment, he was so scared that he couldn't even speak. He couldn't persuade Mo Qingyun anymore. Mo Qingyun looked indifferent to everyone's reaction. He looked around and said, "It's impossible for me to apologize. If you're unhappy with me, feel free to attack me." Under Mo Qingyun's gaze, the surrounding people immediately panicked and looked at each other in dismay. Mo Qingyun's attitude was too domineering. It was so domineering that they were afraid and didn't dare to attack Mo Qingyun. In their opinion, Mo Qingyun must have something powerful to rely on if he dared to be so unscrupulous. They couldn't help but be on guard. Are you unhappy with me? Are you unhappy with me? Were you the one who said you wanted to attack me? I'm here now. Do you want to attack me together? Seeing that no one stood out, Mo Qingyun revealed a disdainful smile and swept his gaze over them. Under Mo Qingyun's gaze, everyone's expression became even more flustered. They became even more fearful of Mo Qingyun. Gradually, everyone lowered their heads under Mo Qingyun's gaze, not daring to meet Mo Qingyun's eyes. They were all afraid that if they angered Mo Qingyun, he would treat them as the ones who stood out. Sometimes it was just like that. Once one's aura was about to be lost, it would be useless even if one had the advantage in strength. Not long after, everyone shut their mouths under Mo Qingyun's gaze, not daring to show the slightest bit of dissatisfaction. Seeing such a situation, Tan Heping was dumbfounded once again. He felt that it was inconceivable. He could sense that there were at least a dozen Saint Realm experts around him. With such a huge advantage, they were actually intimidated by Mo Qingyun and didn't dare to disrespect Mo Qingyun in the slightest. Senior Mo is just amazing. Seeing Mo Qingyun's domineering performance, Tan Heping couldn't help but sigh. He admired Mo Qingyun to the core. What was domineering? This was domineering. Fighting 1 against 100, his aura didn't seem to be at a disadvantage at all. He displayed the demeanor of a king. What was awesome? This was awesome. Obviously, they didn't have the upper hand, but they still relied on their aura to make the other party bow down. Seeing that everyone was no longer talking nonsense, Mo Qingyun no longer paid attention to them and simply closed his eyes. Ah! Seeing Missouri Qingyun close his eyes, everyone trembled and took a step back in fright. There was nothing they could do about it. Mo Qingyun gave them too much pressure, causing them to be a little paranoid. Seeing everyone's reaction, Tan Heping became even more excited. He admired Mo Qingyun even more. Too domineering. So domineering that there was no reason at all. He could scare people half to death just by closing his eyes. At this moment, while everyone was stunned by Mo Qingyun, Zhang Yijie and the others had returned to the courtyard. Xuelong and the others were stunned when they saw the appearance of Zhang Yijie and the others, and they were unable to recover from their shock for a long time. Didn't Zhang Yijie and the others go deal with someone else? Based on their current appearance, it seems like they were dealt with by someone else. With the cultivations of the elders of the Fire Beacon Formation sect, dealing with a kid at the first level of the Nine Heavens' mysterious immortal realm ought to be an extremely easy matter. How could it have become like this? After being stunned for a short moment, Jiang Dessen carried strong bewilderment as he looked at Zhang Yijie with a solemn expression and asked, "Yijie, what exactly is going on? How did all of you become like this?" Zhang Yijie's face instantly sank when he heard Jiang Dessen, and his face was covered in rage as he said, "Father, that kid concealed his cultivation. I suspect that he's a Saint Realm expert, and he came to the Shui estate today intentionally to look for trouble." Saint Realm expert? Jiang Dessen frowned while his expression became serious. He felt that this matter was slightly troublesome. It wasn't just Jiang Dessen who frowned. Xuelong and the others frowned as well, and they withdrew their underestimation of Mo Qingyun. "Master, senior brothers, what do all of you think of this matter? If he's a Saint Realm expert, then it's indeed slightly troublesome, but it's only slightly troublesome. How about this? Dessen, come with me. Let me see who he is. Dessen, Shui Han, I'll go with all of you. It'll be better if 3 saints go together." Exactly. Wang Xiao, Shui Han, and Dessen will go together. It'll be able to prevent that kid from escaping. Jiang Dessen and the others conversed for a while before they came to a decision. They decided to send 3 saints to deal with Mo Qingyun. After that, Jiang Dessen and the others stood up with the intention of going over to meet Mo Qingyun. Zhang Yijie couldn't remain calm any longer when he saw what Jiang Dessen and the others were doing. He immediately stopped them and said, "Father, martial ancestor, martial uncles, that kid asked me to pass on a message. He wants martial ancestor to see him within 10 breaths of time, or he'll make martial ancestor's birthday a day of sacrifice." What? That kid is going too far. I have to kill him myself. I originally intended to ignore him, but now it would seem like I have to make a trip over. Senior brothers, let's go over together. Let's see who that kid is. Jiang Dessen and the others exploded with rage when they heard Zhang Yijie, and all of them were furious. If Mo Qingyun was only causing trouble, they could still maintain their calm. But Mo Qingyun coming to their doorstep to provoke them had already crossed their bottom line. Xuelong's face became ugly when he saw how furious Jiang Dessen and the others were. He slowly stood up and said, "It's been over 200,000 years since I became a Saint Formation Master, and no one has dared to speak to me like that until now. I'd like to see who gave that kid the courage." Chapter 2066. Jiang Dessen and the others were stunned when they saw Xuelong's actions, but they quickly followed behind him. They also felt that Xuelong should step forward to deal with Mo Qingyun's provocation. Otherwise, if news of this spread, Xuelong would have no face left in the Tao of formations in the future. Under Xuelong's lead, Jiang Dessen and the others arrived in front of Mo Qingyun aggressively. Due to the large number of people present, Xuelong didn't see Mo Qingyun immediately. He roared angrily, "Who is it? You told me to come here within 10 breaths. I'm already here. Get your ass in front of me immediately." When Xuelong spoke, he even carried a surge of saint aura to express his anger. The surrounding people were shocked when they saw Xuelong's actions. They were all intimidated by Xuelong's actions. Xuelong was really angry this time. Mo Qingyun was probably done for. Saint Array Master Xuelong is really angry. That kid is definitely done for. There are a total of 12 Saint Stage experts in Xuelong's group. Let's see how that kid is going to deal with this. This kid is causing trouble at Saint Array Master Xuelong's birthday. Saint Array Master Xuelong definitely won't let him off. He might even make an example out of him. That's for sure. Otherwise, where's the pressure of Saint Array Master Xuelong if anyone can cause trouble here? That kid must be filled with regret when he sees Saint Array Master Xuelong and the others arrive. I really want to see the scene of him kneeling and begging for mercy. It'll definitely be very exciting. Everyone sneered when they saw Xuelong and the others arrive. They were waiting to see Mo Qingyun make a fool of himself. Under everyone's gaze, Mo Qingyun slowly opened his eyes. He looked at Xuelong lazily and said, Saint Array Master Xuelong, I'm afraid you don't have the right to ask me to get my ass in front of you. Xuelong's body trembled when he heard Mo Qingyun's words. His old face twitched constantly. This voice must have haunted his mind like a nightmare for the past 10 years. Following the source of the voice, Xuelong saw a familiar face. It was Mo Qingyun, the person he was most afraid to see. Looking at Mo Qingyun in front of him, Xuelong was so frightened that his body trembled. He staggered and almost fell. Mo Qingyun had come looking for him to take revenge for what had happened in the past. Now, Mo Qingyun's strength was even stronger than 10 years ago. He was even more difficult to deal with. With Mo Qingyun's current battle prowess, even if all of them were to join forces, they would still be no match for him. What to do? What should he do now? At this moment, Xuelong's heart could be said to be in a mess, and his heart was filled with regret. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have held a birthday celebration and attracted Mo Qingyun. In his opinion, if he didn't hold a birthday celebration, Mo Qingyun wouldn't have found this place. Master, what's wrong? Jiang Desin and the others were puzzled when they saw Xuelong's abnormal behavior, so they asked Xuelong one after another. They were all puzzled. Looking at Xuelong's appearance, it seemed like he was very afraid of Mo Qingyun. No, nothing. Xuelong laughed awkwardly under the gaze of Jiang Desin and the others as he slowly stabilized his body. Although Xuelong looked very calm on the surface, his heart was already in a complete panic. Mo Qingyun smiled faintly when he saw Xuelong's tense expression. He raised his hand and pointed at the chair beside him. Sacred Array Master Xuelong, you're the host here. It's inappropriate for you to stand on the side. Come over here and sit down. At this moment, Mo Qingyun's actions seemed like he was the host. Xuelong became even more reserved when he heard Mo Qingyun's words, as if he was a mouse that had seen a cat. Everyone was even more puzzled when they saw Xuelong's abnormal behavior. They didn't understand the reason behind it. What's going on? Senior Xuelong seems to be very afraid of this kid. Could this kid's identity be very frightening? There aren't many people in the Wild Continent who can make Senior Xuelong afraid. Who exactly is this kid? No matter who this kid is, his identity is definitely not simple. He's definitely not someone we can provoke. Fortunately, we didn't offend him just now. Otherwise, we would have ended up in a terrible situation. While everyone was shocked by Mo Qingyun's identity, they were also secretly rejoicing that they had avoided a lot of trouble. While everyone was discussing, Tan Heping was once again in a daze. His mind was completely blank. The situation before his eyes had completely exceeded the scope of his understanding. He had originally thought that after Xuelong and the others had arrived, they would have a big battle with Mo Qingyun. However, in the end, Xuelong was so frightened that he couldn't even stand properly when he saw Mo Qingyun. This was really too abnormal. Even Senior Xuelong is like a mouse that has seen a cat. When he sees Senior Mo Qingyun's identity is too terrifying. Tan Heping was even more excited when he noticed Mo Qingyun's strength, and even his palms were sweating as he said happily in his heart, "What sort of luck do I have to actually get acquainted with such a great figure? The heavens are really good to me." Tan Heping knew very clearly in his heart that so long as he held onto Mo Qingyun's thigh, then he would soar into the sky. At this moment, the feelings of Jiang Dessen and the others were completely different from Tan Heping. The bewilderment in their hearts grew thicker when they saw Shui Long's expression, and they didn't understand exactly what was going on. This kid before them was clearly only at the first level of the Nine Heavens' mysterious immortal realm. So why would Shui Long be so afraid of him? Under the puzzled gazes of Jiang Dessen and the others, Shui Long revealed an apologetic smile as he walked slowly towards Emo Qingyun, and then he said, Mr. Emo, I had no choice in the ancestral tomb of the shaman clan earlier. Thank you for sparing me this time. While Shui Long was speaking, he'd arrived by Emo Qingyun's side and sat down by Emo Qingyun's side. Emo Qingyun's gaze suddenly went cold as he gazed at Shui Long, who sat down by his side, and his body emanated killing intent as he said, Do you know that I almost lost my life because you had no choice? Now you think I'll let it go just because you said you had no choice? There's no such good thing in the world. Shui Long's face immediately trembled when he heard Emo Qingyun, and his expression became even more panicked. If Emo Qingyun were to make a move against him, then he and his disciples would all die here today. Shui Long was aware of Emo Qingyun's origins, and he was afraid of Emo Qingyun in his heart, but Jiang Dessen and the others weren't the same. When they saw Emo Qingyun's attitude towards Shui Long, Jiang Dessen and the others were immediately infuriated, and they were unable to restrain themselves any longer. In next to no time, the middle-aged man called Shui Han walked over with a displeased expression, and he shouted, Kid, who do you think you are to actually speak to my master in such a manner? Immediately kneel down and kowtow out a master and admit your mistake. Shui Han, don't be rude. Shui Long's eyelids twitched when he saw Shui Han's actions, and he hurriedly berated the former. As far as he was concerned, Shui Han's actions were clearly taking his life. You want me to kowtow to Shui Long and admit my mistake? Chapter 2067. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, the surrounding people were stunned. They could not believe what they had just heard. Shui Han had asked Emo Qingyun to kneel, but he had asked Shui Long to kneel instead. He was as domineering as ever. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Shui Long's face immediately turned ugly. He felt that Emo Qingyun had gone too far. Although Shui Long was furious, he did not dare to show it. He could only endure it silently in his heart. He knew very well that with Emo Qingyun's strong and decisive character, as long as he dared to refute, Emo Qingyun would definitely kill him immediately. However, Shui Long was unwilling to kneel directly. It would be too embarrassing for him. While Shui Long was hesitating, Shui Han was completely enraged. He gritted his teeth and glared at Emo Qingyun. He roared, Boy, since you insist on courting death, I'll fulfill your wish. Dragon, Lion, Ice, Sky, Palm. Shui Han roared angrily. A chill burst out from his palm and quickly gathered a terrifying saint energy. Then, Shui Han blasted his palm toward Emo Qingyun. The saint energy on his palm turned into a dragon horn lion head. When the dragon horn lion head formed, it pounced towards Emo Qingyun, looking like it wanted to swallow Emo Qingyun whole. Shui Han, stop. Seeing Shui Han's action, Saint Array Master Shui Long panicked and quickly shouted at Shui Han. Previously, with the cultivation of ZK and the others, they could not do anything to Emo Qingyun. Shui Han's cultivation was only at the initial stage of the Saint Realm. With his cultivation, he was no match for Emo Qingyun. Although Shui Long immediately spoke, he was still a little too slow and could not stop Shui Han in time. Saint Array Master Shui Long, didn't you tell them that they can't do anything to me? Under Shui Long's nervous gaze, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly at him and looked at Shui Han. Emo Qingyun looked at Shui Han. A red light flashed in his right eye, emitting a terrifying aura. Then, a terrifying red light shot out from Emo Qingyun's right eye. Mr. Emo, please have mercy on me. I'll kneel before you right now. Seeing Emo Qingyun attack Shui Han, Shui Long was so scared that his body trembled, and he quickly knelt before Emo Qingyun. Unfortunately, Mo Qingyun did not care about his Cao at all. Pucci. The eye force slammed into the dragonhorn lion's head and immediately pierced through it, causing it to crumble rapidly. After destroying the dragonhorn lion's head, the attack of the eye force did not diminish. It continued to attack Shui Han's head. No! When Xuelong saw the eye force shooting toward Shui Han, he was shocked and couldn't help but reveal an expression of pity. Facing Mo Qingyun's attack, with Shui Han's strength, it was highly likely that he would not be able to block it. Pucci. Sure enough, under the bombardment of the heavenly sun-piercing star pupil, Shui Han's head was directly pierced through. Then, the light in Shui Han's eyes slowly dimmed. Under the bombardment of the eye force, his sea of knowledge was shattered, and his primordial spirit was also scattered. Bang! A ball of threatening flame suddenly burst out from Shui Han's body, burning his body. Seeing this scene, the surrounding people were immediately shocked, and their expressions changed. The fire of civilization. This guy actually ignited the fire of civilization. It's too terrifying. Even an expert of the later stage of the Saint Realm is not as terrifying as him. No wonder this guy ignored us. With our strength, it's not even enough to fill the gap between his teeth. He killed a Saint Realm expert with just a glance. No wonder Senior Xuelong is so afraid of him. He's only at the first heaven Xian immortal realm. If he breaks through to the Saint Realm, how terrifying will he be? Who is this guy? With the strength he has shown, he shouldn't be a nobody. Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, everyone immediately became more curious about his identity. While everyone was curious about Mo Qingyun's identity, Jiang Dessen and the others were all stunned, and their bodies could not help but retreat a little in fear. It's too terrifying. Although Shui Han's strength was not the strongest among them, he was definitely not the weakest. Even so, with Shui Han's strength, he was killed by Mo Qingyun with just a glance. How? How could this be? How could his strength be so terrifying? Seeing the strength that Mo Qingyun displayed, Jiang Yijie trembled in fear, and his emotions became extremely agitated. At this moment, he suddenly had an illusion that he had just taken a trip to the gates of hell. With his strength, if Mo Qingyun wanted to kill him, it would be enough for him to die 100 times. While Jiang Yijie was afraid, he also felt a little fortunate. Fortunately, his strength was not strong enough for Mo Qingyun to disdain killing him. Senior Mo is too strong. Seeing Mo Qingyun's shocking performance, Tan Heping immediately had a shocked expression, and his emotions were instantly agitated to the extreme. At this moment, he was already unable to find any words to describe Mo Qingyun's strength. Under everyone's shocked gazes, Mo Qingyun turned around to look at Jiang Dessen and the others, and he said indifferently, "Now if any of you still want to make a move, I'll receive all of you." Thump! 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 Under Mo Qingyun's gaze, Jiang Dessen and the others were all frightened to the point of retreating, and they did not dare to let out half a fart. What a joke! He insta-killed Shui Han with just a glance. How could they fight Mo Qingyun? The gap in strength between them and Mo Qingyun was truly too great. The two were completely incomparable. If they insisted on making a move, the result would be the same as Shui Han being insta-killed by Mo Qingyun on the spot. Seeing that no one spoke, Mo Qingyun withdrew his gaze, and it fell on Xuelong again, and he said, "Xuelong, don't say that I didn't give you a chance. If you're willing to submit to me like Yin Peng from now on, I can spare your life." Submit to you? Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Xuelong's eyes immediately lit up, and a burst of joy rose in his heart. To him now, the most important thing was to preserve his life. Everything else was secondary. If he didn't even have his life, then what was the use of keeping his face? In front of his little life, everything else was meaningless. I'm willing to submit to you." Xuelong hurriedly nodded, and he responded with a panicked expression, as if he was afraid that Mo Qingyun would change his mind. Seeing Xuelong's action, everyone couldn't help but sigh, and their mood became complicated. They didn't expect that Xuelong would willingly submit to Mo Qingyun just because of one sentence. However, no one laughed at Xuelong, nor did they look down on Xuelong's action. There was no other way. When encountering a terrifying existence like Mo Qingyun, there was no other choice but to submit. Open up your sea of consciousness. Seeing that Xuelong was willing to submit, Mo Qingyun didn't say any nonsense and immediately ordered Xuelong. Hearing Mo Qingyun's order, Xuelong hesitated for a moment, but still did as Mo Qingyun said. He immediately made a gesture of invitation and said, "Master, please follow me. I will arrange a place for you to stay." Seeing Xuelong's action, Mo Qingyun nodded and left with Xuelong. Soon, under Xuelong's lead, Mo Qingyun arrived at a small courtyard. "Master, please stay here for now. This subordinate will take his leave." After bringing Mo Qingyun into the small courtyard, Xuelong excused himself from Mo Qingyun and turned to walk out of the courtyard. "Wait a moment." Seeing Xuelong turn to leave, Mo Qingyun called out. He glanced at Tan Heping and said, "Xuelong, I heard that you're going to recruit a last disciple at your birthday celebration." "Yes, master." Hearing Mo Qingyun's question, Xuelong immediately nodded and didn't dare to hide anything. Seeing Xuelong's reply, Mo Qingyun pointed at Tan Heping and said, "Just now, I killed one of your disciples. Now, I will compensate you with one. Take Tan Heping as your last disciple." "Master, you want him to be my disciple?" Looking at Tan Heping beside Mo Qingyun, Xuelong was slightly surprised. He was very surprised by Mo Qingyun's actions. In his opinion, with Mo Qingyun's attainments and formations, he was completely capable of personally instructing Tan Heping. Seeing Xuelong's reaction, Mo Qingyun knew what he was thinking. He explained, "Tan Heping and my identities are a little complicated, so it's not convenient for us to take him as a disciple. In addition, his purpose in coming here to celebrate your birthday is to take you as his master." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Xuelong's heart thumped as he thought of a possibility. Following this, Xuelong's gaze towards Tan Heping changed greatly. At this moment, he couldn't help but wonder if Tan Heping had something to do with him being able to keep his life. With the enmity between him and Mo Qingyun should have killed him. However, Mo Qingyun had spared his life. Could it be that he wanted Tan Heping to take him as his master? When Xuelong thought of this, he didn't dare hesitate at all. He immediately replied to Mo Qingyun, "Master, don't worry. I'll definitely teach you everything I know and do my best to guide Tan Heping's cultivation." Mo Qingyun nodded in satisfaction when he saw Xuelong's attitude. He waved his hand at Xuelong and said, "All right, there's nothing else. You can leave now." Tan Heping immediately became extremely excited when he saw Mo Qingyun's actions. Even his body began to tremble in excitement. Although he hadn't been able to take Mo Qingyun as his master, being able to take Xuelong as his master was something he hadn't even dared to dream of. More importantly, with Mo Qingyun's instructions, Xuelong would definitely teach him everything he knew. Thinking of this, Tan Heping found it even harder to remain calm. He was filled with gratitude towards Mo Qingyun. "Master, Tan Heping wants to participate in the apprenticeship ceremony. I'll take him with me." Chapter 2069. The mermaid who received the legacy in the ancestral tomb of the shaman lineage seemed to be Mo Qingyun's servant as well. Xuelong could not help but think of the King Devourer after learning of the relationship between Tan Heping and Mo Qingyun. He could not help but sigh inside. Probably only Mo Qingyun would be willing to risk his life for a servant. Xuelong began to feel some admiration for Mo Qingyun when he thought of that. He completely let go of the grudge in his heart. It was probably not a bad thing to have someone like him as a master. As Xuelong sighed inside, he saw Tan Heping frown as if he wanted to say something but was hesitating. As a result, Xuelong said, "Heping, Feel free to tell your master if there's anything. There's no need to worry. Yes, master. Tan Hepping's worries vanished when he heard Shui Long's words. He became much more stern and said, I believe that everything that happened today was actually caused by a single person. Senior Mo had no intention of making a move when he entered the Shui clan. He was provoked by Chun Yi's provocation. Chun Yi. Shui Long's face turned cold. He committed the name to memory and said, Tell me everything that happened in detail. Afterwards, Tan Hepping explained everything from the beginning to the end under Shui Long's gaze without leaving out a single detail. Shui Long's face immediately became ugly when he heard Tan Hepping's words. Killing intent radiated from him as he roared. Chun Yi deserves to die. With that, Shui Long left in a hurry. It seemed like he was going to make trouble for Chun Yi. While Shui Long was looking for Chun Yi, Jiang Dessen and the others came to a small courtyard to discuss the matter regarding Mo Qingyun. Juniors, Master has already accepted Mo Qingyun as his master. What should we do? It's impossible for me to bow my head to Mo Qingyun. I can't forget about Junior Shui Han's death. I feel extremely regretful about Junior Shui Han's death as well, but it's impossible for us to take revenge. Master has chosen to submit to Mo Qingyun to protect us. I think this matter should end here. After Jiang Dessen and the others discussed for a while, their expressions turned gloomy. They no longer had the heart to seek revenge on Mo Qingyun. They knew very well that if they went to seek revenge on Mo Qingyun, they would only be sending themselves to their deaths. The current result was already the most satisfactory. There was no need to cause any more trouble. Seeing the reaction of Jiang Dessen and the others, Chun Yi's eyes flickered. Rubbing his ears, Chun Yi's expression darkened as he took a step forward towards Jiang Dessen and the others. Sect Master, sirs, regarding the matter of finding Mo Qingyun for revenge, this lowly one has a plan. I wonder if you are willing to listen? Chun Yi, you don't have the right to speak here. Step aside immediately. Then, Shui Long recounted what had happened, causing Jiang Dessen to explode with rage. Bastard thing, die. After hearing Shui Long's words, Jiang Dessen's expression was as dark as ink. He directly killed Chun Yi with a palm strike. Although Shui Han was killed by Mo Qingyun, they couldn't take revenge on Mo Qingyun. They could only kill Chun Yi to vent their anger. Seeing that Jiang Dessen had killed Chun Yi, Shui Long nodded in satisfaction and said, I know that you all resent me in your hearts. Why did you not avenge Shui Han and choose to submit to Master? Hearing Shui Long's words, Jiang Dessen and the others fell silent. They all looked ashamed. They indeed had such thoughts. Seeing that Jiang Dessen and the others didn't speak, Shui Long continued, Do you think that you could do anything to Master just because you've joined the Dark Demon race? Jiang Dessen and the others were puzzled. Wasn't that the case? Seeing the reaction of Jiang Dessen and the others, Shui Long shook his head with a bitter smile and sighed. 10 years ago, in the ancestral tomb of the witchcraft sect, the Immortal Slaying Hall, the Madman League, the Anti-Immortal Alliance, and the Dark Demon race suffered heavy casualties. Now you know how I feel. What? It's actually him. If it's him, joining the Dark Demon race is indeed useless. Master, we've wronged you. Jiang Dessen and the others had also heard about what happened 10 years ago. They knew that Shui Long had encountered a powerful person. However, they never thought that the person would be Mo Qingyun. Now that they knew the whole story, they immediately felt relieved and completely let go of the idea of revenge. 10 years ago, even the Dark Demon race, the Immortal Slaying Hall, the Madman League, and the Anti-Immortal Alliance couldn't do anything to Mo Qingyun. With their meager strength, running over to find Mo Qingyun for revenge was completely an act of seeking death. All right, everyone, let's go. After the birthday banquet is over, this old man will also leave with Master. After comforting Jiang Dessen and the others, Shui Long waved his hand at them and continued to arrange the birthday banquet. Because he was worried that Mo Qingyun would wait anxiously, Shui Long ended the birthday banquet early after only a few hours. After the birthday banquet was over, Long came to Mo Qingyun's residence and waited for Mo Qingyun's instructions. The birthday banquet is over? Mo Qingyun called out indifferently when he saw Long arrive in the courtyard. He stood up from his chair and said, "Since everything is ready, let's set off now." "Yes." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Long didn't dare to hesitate and immediately led the way for Mo Qingyun. Then, Mo Qingyun and the others left the Shui residence and went to Wang Chang's residence. Chapter 2070. A few days later, with Long leading the way, Mo Qingyun arrived in front of a sect. This sect was very powerful. The sect protecting formation was actually a high-grade saint formation. This exceeded Mo Qingyun's expectations. This meant that there was at least one high-grade saint formation master in this formation sect. More importantly, this sect protecting formation was a fire elemental formation. Its power was far greater than other saint formations. Master Wang Chang is an elder of the Great Void Heaven Fire Formation sect. He will be here most of the time. While Mo Qingyun was observing the formation, Long reported Wang Chang's whereabouts. His expression became grave as he said, "It's just that the Great Void Heaven Fire Formation sect is very powerful. It won't be easy for you to capture Wang Chang here." Mo Qingyun did not refute Long's words. His expression also became grave. With the strength of the Great Void Heaven Fire Formation sect, it was absolutely impossible for him to forcefully capture Wang Chang here. If he angered the Great Void Heaven Fire Formation sect and forced them to activate the sect protecting formation, he might be left here. I have to think of a way. I can't have a direct conflict with the Great Void Heaven Fire Formation sect. Mo Qingyun's mind spun quickly as he thought of a way to bypass the Great Void Heaven Fire Formation sect and capture Wang Chang easily. Mo Qingyun thought for a moment and thought of a way. His gaze landed on Long as he said, "Long, you have some friendship with Wang Chang. Think of a way to get him to leave the Great Void Heaven Fire Formation sect with you." "Yes." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Long hesitated slightly before nodding at Mo Qingyun. Following this, Long flew forward and entered the Great Void Heaven Fire Formation sect. Seeing Long gradually fly away, Mo Qingyun did not follow. He only waited outside the Great Void Heaven Fire Formation sect. What he needed to do now was wait for Long to bring Wang Chang out before forcefully capturing Wang Chang. As for entering the Great Void Heaven Fire Formation sect, there was no need to take this risk. If he entered the Great Void Heaven Fire Array sect and Wang Chang happened to discover him, it would be troublesome for him to gather people to deal with him. One had to know that the Great Void Heaven Fire Array sect was not the Shui residence, allowing him to run amok without restraint. At this moment, while Mo Qingyun was waiting outside, wave after wave of people were rushing over. Seeing the arrival of these people, Mo Qingyun became curious and paid more attention to them. Filled with curiosity, Mo Qingyun released his soul force and listened to their conversation. The rewards for the Great Void Array Conference this time are very rich. Those who get into the top 100 of the assessment can become outer sect disciples of the Great Void Heaven Fire Array sect. I heard that those who rank in the top 10 can directly become inner disciples of the Great Void Heaven Fire Array sect. The reward for the champion is even more perverse. Not only can he become a true disciple, but the sect will also fulfill one of his requests. I don't dare to think about getting first place. I only hope to enter the top 100. It is said that the number of people participating in the assessment this time has already exceeded 100,000. It will be extremely difficult to enter the top 100. As Mo Qingyun listened, the conversations of the crowd entered his ears one after another. Great Void Array Conference? Hearing these people's words, Mo Qingyun frowned slightly. Suddenly, he had an idea and said, "The champion of the Great Void Array Conference can make a request to the Great Void Heaven Fire Array sect. If Long is unable to bring Wang Chang out, Perhaps I can use this method to capture him. Let's wait for Shuelong's response first. Mo Qingyun had already made up his mind. If Shuelong's operation failed, he would participate in the Great Void Array Conference. While Mo Qingyun was waiting, a young girl wearing a flaming robe walked to his side and said, "Young master, you have stayed outside the Great Void Heaven Fire Array sect for a long time. You have not entered the Great Void Heaven Fire Array sect. Is it because you do not have a recommendation letter?" Recommendation letter? Hearing the young girl's question, Mo Qingyun was stunned. He was thinking about what a recommendation letter was. To be honest, he really did not have a recommendation letter. Mo Qingyun hesitated slightly before smiling at the young girl. He did not try to hide it and said honestly, "That's right. I am indeed thinking about how to get a recommendation letter." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the young girl took out a flaming letter and handed it to Mo Qingyun. She said, "My elder brother is delayed by some matters and cannot participate in the Great Void Array Conference. I have an extra recommendation letter here. You can have it." This, seeing the young girl's actions, Mo Qingyun could not help but be stunned. He was rather surprised by the young girl's actions. He didn't expect that the young girl in front of him would actually give him a recommendation letter. Seeing the young girl's actions, the face of an old man in black armor beside her immediately darkened. He said, "Miss Xinhan, this person's origins are unknown and his actions are abnormal. He might be someone with ulterior motives. I'm afraid that it would be inappropriate for you to give him a recommendation letter." "Uncle Hanyu, you're doing it again." Hearing the old man's reminder, the young girl immediately became rather vexed. She retorted with an unconvinced expression, "That's what you said in the formation sect of the Sea of Clouds last time. You misunderstood him." The old man immediately became speechless when he heard the young girl's words. He did not try to persuade the young girl any further. However, the way he looked at Mo Qingyun had become much colder. Clearly, he was warning Mo Qingyun with his gaze, telling Mo Qingyun to leave tactfully. "Thank you, miss, but I don't plan on joining the Great Void Fire Formation sect. You could take this recommendation letter back." Mo Qingyun did not mind the old man's gaze, but he still rejected the young girl with a smile. He thought that if he wanted to join the Great Void Fire Formation sect, all he needed to do was wait for Shuelong to return. With Shuelong's status and ability, it should not be difficult for him to get a recommendation letter and join the Great Void Array Conference. "Uncle Hanyu, did you see that?" The young girl immediately glared at the old man. She believed that Mo Qingyun had rejected her goodwill because of the old man's pressure. After scolding the old man, the young girl looked at Mo Qingyun and explained, "Young master, you might not know this, but there are less than 4 hours left for the registration for the Great Void Array Conference. If you don't register in 4 hours, it'll be equivalent to giving up on the Great Void Array Conference. So that's how it is." With the young girl's words, Mo Qingyun became enlightened. He understood the situation of the Great Void Array Conference and thought, "Shuelong has gone to invite Wang Chong, but there's no guarantee about the time. If I miss the Great Void Array Conference, I'll be in a rather passive position. To make sure that nothing goes wrong, it's better if I join the Great Void Array Conference first." With that thought, Mo Qingyun made up his mind. He would accept the young girl's recommendation letter first. He did not care about the old man's warning at all. Chapter 2071. If that's the case, thank you very much, Mississippi. Mo Qingyun took the letter of recommendation and thanked the young lady. The black-armored old man's gaze turned cold when he saw Mo Qingyun take the letter of recommendation. However, Mo Qingyun ignored him and continued to chat with the young lady calmly. "Sir, I'm Zheng Xinhan from the Vermilion Bird Tribe. Who are you?" The young lady smiled brightly and introduced herself to Mo Qingyun after exchanging a few simple words with Mo Qingyun. "So you're from the Vermilion Bird Tribe?" Surprise flashed across Mo Qingyun's eyes when he heard Zheng Xinhan's self-introduction. He couldn't help but take a few more looks at her. Qingyun's Vermilion Bird Tribe was not on the 10,000 Ancient Tribes roll, but it was extremely powerful and could be compared to the top 10 tribes. Mo Qingyun from the Heavenly Soul Demon Tribe. Now that he knew Zhang Xinhan's identity, Mo Qingyun did not hide his identity and responded calmly. Secluded Well, who was behind Zhang Xinhan, was visibly shaken when he learned of Mo Qingyun's background. Then, the way he looked at Mo Qingyun changed drastically. Clearly, he had heard of Mo Qingyun and knew some of Mo Qingyun's deeds. Zhang Xinhan asked curiously when she saw Secluded Well's abnormal behavior. "Uncle Secluded Well, what's wrong?" "No, nothing." Secluded Well quickly shook his head in response to Zhang Xinhan's question and gave a simple answer. Zhang Xinhan was more simple-minded. Although she felt that Secluded Well was acting a little strange, she didn't probe further. To prevent Zhang Xinhan from thinking too much, Secluded Well immediately changed the topic. "Mr. Mo, please don't take it to heart if I've been disrespectful just now. It's all right. You're just trying to protect your master. I can understand that." Mo Qingyun waved his hand indifferently when he saw Secluded Well's actions, expressing his attitude. From Secluded Well's reaction, Mo Qingyun could tell that Secluded Well knew something about him. However, Mo Qingyun didn't know if this man knew about his background as a heavenly soul devil or about his achievements in the ancestral tomb of the Magus Magi. However, Mo Qingyun did not mind. He was not worried that Secluded Well would harm him. Seeing that Mo Qingyun did not hold a grudge, Secluded Well's expression relaxed a little. He reminded Mo Qingyun and Miss Xinhan, "Mr. Mo, Miss Xinhan, the registration for the Cosmos Conference is almost over. Let's hurry over." Hearing Secluded Well's words, Mo Qingyun and Secluded Soul did not waste any more time and immediately headed towards the Great Void Fire Array sect. Not long after, Mo Qingyun and the other two entered the Great Void Heaven Fire Array sect to register for the Great Void Array Conference. "Mr. Mo, I'm going to visit a senior. I'll come back to find you later." After registering for the Great Void Array Conference, Zhang Xinhan bade farewell to Mo Qingyun and left with Secluded Well. After Zhang Xinhan and Secluded Soul left, Mo Qingyun transmitted his current location to Shuelong. After Secluded Well left with Zhang Xinhan, a serious expression appeared on his face. He immediately reminded Zhang Xinhan, "Miss Xinhan, that Mr. Mo's identity is not as simple as it seems. From now on, you should try your best to befriend him. This will greatly benefit our race." "Uncle Secluded Well, you know about Mr. Mo's identity?" Although Zhang Xinhan was simple-minded, she was very smart. She immediately understood the hidden meaning behind Secluded Well's words. Secluded Well's expression became even more serious after hearing Zhang Xinhan's question. With a serious tone, he said to Zhang Xinhan, "If my guess is correct, Mr. Mo's true identity is most likely the #1 genius of the Heavenly Soul Devil clan in the past 1,000,000 years. The #1 genius of the Heavenly Soul Devil clan in the past 1,000,000 years? Mr. Mo actually has such an identity." After listening to Secluded Well's explanation, Zhang Xinhan's pretty face was immediately filled with shock. She found it hard to believe. This news was simply too sudden for her. After a brief moment of shock, Zhang Xinhan's face lit up with joy. She raised her chin proudly and said, "Humph. When I return to the clan this time, I'll see who still dares to say that I'm acquainted only with mediocre people. Ha! From now on, they won't even have time to flatter you." Secluded Well smiled when he saw Zhang Xinhan's expression. He agreed with Zhang Xinhan and said, "Rumor has it that Mo Qingyun's mastery of formations is astonishing. If you can join forces with him, your chances of entering the top 100 in the assessment are extremely high." "Uncle Secluded Well, what do you think? I did the right thing this time, didn't I?" Zhang Xinhan's smile widened when she heard Secluded Well's words. She winked playfully at Secluded Well. Secluded Well was at a loss for words when he saw Zhang Xinhan's actions. He couldn't help but admire Zhang Xinhan's luck. Zhang Xinhan had actually encountered something with such a low probability. Mo Qingyun was completely unaware of the conversation between Secluded Well and Shuelong. He didn't have to wait for long before Shuelong arrived. Shuelong had come alone. Clearly, His invitation to Wang Chang had failed. Master, the Great Void Fire Formation Sect is holding the Great Void Array Conference. Wang Chang is the judge of the Great Void Array Conference, so he can't leave with me. Xuelong arrived before Mo Qingyun and immediately reported the situation. His expression became even more serious as he continued. Also, when I was talking to him just now, he kept trying to persuade me to join the Great Void Fire Formation Sect and become a guest elder there to avoid your revenge. It looks like he doesn't plan on leaving the Great Void Fire Formation Sect. He tried to persuade you to join the Great Void Fire Formation Sect. Mo Qingyun didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he heard Xuelong's words. He was helpless against Wang Chang's way of thinking. It was one thing for this guy to be cowardly, but he actually tried to rope Xuelong in. Fortunately, Xuelong hadn't come looking for him in advance. Otherwise, if Xuelong had also joined the Great Void Fire Formation Sect, Mo Qingyun would have missed the Great Void Array Conference. It would have been even more difficult for him to take revenge. After saying these words of surprise, Mo Qingyun grinned and revealed a meaningful smile. He thought to himself, Wang Chang is the judge of the Great Void Array Conference. When he sees me participating in the Great Void Array Conference, he'll probably be very surprised. Master, we can't lure Wang Chang out. What should we do next? Seeing that his plan had failed, Xuelong's old face was tense as he asked Mo Qingyun about his future plans. Hearing Xuelong's question, Mo Qingyun waved his hand at him and said calmly, The reward for the first place of the Great Void Array Conference is any request you want from the Great Void Fire Formation Sect. I've already participated in the Great Void Array Conference. Once I take first place, I like to see where Wang Chang can hide. Master, you want to participate in the Great Void Array Conference? Hearing Mo Qingyun's plan, Xuelong couldn't help but be dumbfounded. He felt that his brain wasn't enough. What kind of situation was this? Wang Chang was the judge of the Great Void Array Conference, and Mo Qingyun was participating in the Great Void Array Conference assessment. At that time, the two of them would meet. Chapter 2072. To prevent Wang Chang from becoming vigilant. We can't let him know that you've submitted to me yet. Mo Qingyun told Xuelong about his thoughts, as he didn't want to cause Wang Chang too much panic. If Wang Chang found out that Xuelong had submitted to him, he might be so scared that he wouldn't dare show his face. The Great Void Fire Array sect was huge, so it wouldn't be easy for Mo Qingyun to find someone here. Now that he didn't have the hidden door, he couldn't enter and exit any place quietly. When he heard Mo Qingyun's instructions, Xuelong's old face broke into a smile as he thought of a scheme. Master, why don't I go find Wang Chang again and stay by his side for the time being? This way, not only can I act separately from you, but I can also keep an eye on Wang Chang and report his every move to you. That's a good idea. Xuelong's suggestion immediately made Mo Qingyun's eyes light up. He praised Xuelong and said, In that case, you can go find Wang Chang now. Mo Qingyun was most worried that Wang Chang would find out that he was coming and hide in a corner. If Xuelong followed him, this worry wouldn't exist. Yes. When he heard Mo Qingyun's instructions, Xuelong went to find Wang Chang and helped Mo Qingyun monitor Wang Chang's movements. After letting Xuelong go find Wang Chang, Mo Qingyun didn't leave. He waited for Zheng Xinhan to come back and find him. Zheng Xinhan was more trustworthy. It didn't take long for her to come back and find Mo Qingyun. What surprised Mo Qingyun was that there was a luxuriously dressed young man beside Zheng Xinhan. From the looks of it, this young man seemed to be pursuing Zheng Xinhan, following her around like sticky candy. Zheng Xinhan didn't pay attention to this young man's fawning. She even seemed a little disgusted. When he saw this, Mo Qingyun couldn't help but sigh. He knew that this young man had no chance. Even someone as enthusiastic as Zheng Xinhan showed disgust towards him. It was clear how bad his character was. Mr. Mo, sorry to keep you waiting. Arriving in front of Mo Qingyun, Zheng Xinhan greeted him warmly. Her attitude towards him was completely different from how she treated the young man. Seeing Zheng Xinhan's actions, the young man's face turned ugly. He glared at Mo Qingyun coldly and shouted, "Who are you? What's your relationship with Xinhan?" Obviously, the young man saw Mo Qingyun as a love rival and was prepared to give Mo Qingyun a warning. "You're not qualified to know who I am, and you're even less qualified to know my relationship with Miss Zheng." Looking at the arrogant young man, Mo Qingyun's lips curled into a faint smile. His eyes revealed a trace of mockery. He finally understood why this guy was not liked by others. His table manners were too ugly. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the young man's face immediately sank. His body emitted a cold aura as he shouted, "Brat, do you know who I am? How dare you talk to me like that?" Seeing the young man's actions, Zheng Xinhan's pretty face immediately turned cold. She shouted, "Wang Jiechuan, it's none of your business who I befriend. I don't want to see you now. Please disappear from my sight immediately." "Xinhan, I don't think this Brad is a good person. You'd better keep your distance from him." Seeing Zheng Xinhan angry, Wang Jiechuan panicked and hurriedly explained to Zheng Xinhan. Without waiting for Wang Jiechuan to finish, Zheng Xinhan grabbed Mo Qingyun's hand and said, "Mr. Mo, let's go. Don't bother with him." She hated it the most when others tried to control who she befriended. It was fine if the elders in his clan tried to control her, but even Wang Jiechuan said so. She could not accept it. Wang Jiechuan was not related to her in any way. What right did he have to meddle in her affairs? He was really meddling in other people's business. Okay. Seeing Zheng Xinhan pull him away, Mo Qingyun did not mind and followed her with a calm expression. As for Wang Jiechuan's murderous glare, Mo Qingyun directly ignored it. He did not take him seriously at all. He did not put a quasi-sage realm guy in his eyes and did not put him in his heart. If Wang Jiechuan did not know what was good for him, he would not mind teaching him a lesson so that he would restrain himself in the future. Realizing that Mo Qingyun had ignored him, Wang Jiechuan was furious. He gnashed his teeth in anger and shouted, "Brat, you've got guts. How dare you ignore my words? You're asking for it." As soon as Wang Jiechuan finished speaking, he moved and threw a punch at Mo Qingyun. "Young Master Wang, please stop." Seeing Wang Jiechuan's action, Secluded Well's face darkened. He immediately blocked Wang Jiechuan and said unhappily, "Young Master Wang, although you have an extraordinary status, I still want to remind you out of kindness that it's best not to provoke Mr. Mo. He's not someone you can afford to offend." As soon as Secluded Well finished speaking, he ignored Wang Jiechuan and turned to walk toward Zheng Xinhan. He did not like Wang Jiechuan either. If it were not for Wang Jiechuan's extraordinary status, he would have chased him away long ago. Hearing Secluded Well's warning, Wang Jiechuan did not make another move. His gaze became even colder as he said, "Brat, I don't care who you are. How dare you try to steal my woman? I'll make sure you die a horrible death." Wang Jiechuan threw down these harsh words and didn't stay any longer. He immediately turned and left. Seeing Wang Jiechuan turn and leave, Zheng Xinhan's expression relaxed. Clearly, she was afraid of being pestered by the former. At this moment, Secluded Well walked up with a serious look on his face. He reminded Mo Qingyun, "Mr. Mo, Wang Jiechuan's status is not simple. His uncle is an elder of the Great Void Fire Formation sect. It's said that he's also one of the judges of this year's Great Void Array Convention. He might make things difficult for you later, so you should be mentally prepared. It's fine. He's just an elder of the Great Void Fire Formation sect. I'm not worried about him." Mo Qingyun smiled nonchalantly at Secluded Well's reminder. He did not take it to heart. After all, the person he was going to deal with, Wang Chong, was also an elder of the Great Void Fire Formation sect. He was also one of the judges of the Great Void Array Convention. Wang Chong, Wang Jiechuan, an elder of the Great Void Fire Formation sect, and a judge of the Great Void Array Convention. Could there be a connection between them? Just as Mo Qingyun was thinking about this, a thought suddenly flashed through his mind. He realized that something was not right and began to think about the connection between them. With that in mind, Mo Qingyun stopped thinking about it and immediately confirmed it with Secluded Well. He asked, "Senior Secluded Well, Could the uncle of Wang Jiechuan that you mentioned be Sacred Array Master Wang Chong? Mr. Mo, you know Sacred Array Master Wang Chong? Secluded Well's eyes lit up at Mo Qingyun's question. He was very surprised by Mo Qingyun's question. Seeing Secluded Well's reaction, Mo Qingyun's guess was confirmed. Wang Chong was indeed Wang Jiechuan's uncle. Chapter 2073. Mo Qingyun had not expected Wang Chong to be Wang Jiechuan's uncle. Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. Now that he knew that Wang Chong was Wang Jiechuan's uncle, Mo Qingyun had a plan in mind and knew what to do. If Wang Jiechuan did not know what was good for him, he would not show any mercy. He would make Wang Jiechuan regret it. Upon hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Secluded Well and Zheng Xinhan looked puzzled. They did not understand what he meant. Mo Qingyun's words had two meanings. They did not know which one Mo Qingyun was referring to. Seeing that Mo Qingyun did not elaborate, Secluded Well and Zheng Xinhan did not pursue the matter. Instead, they chatted with Mo Qingyun about other matters. Mr. Mo, there are 3 rounds of the Great Void Array Conference's assessment. They are the road of 10,000 formations, the Formation Beast Abyss, and the Array Formation Competition. When they talked about the Great Void Array Formation, Zheng Xinhan told Mo Qingyun all the details of the Great Void Array Formation. The first round of the road of 10,000 formations tested everyone's familiarity with array formations and the use of various sacred inscriptions. During the test, everyone would be sent to a path filled with array formations. Only by breaking the array formations could they move forward. If they did not successfully reach the end within the allotted time, they would not be able to enter the second round of the assessment. The test of the Formation Beast Abyss was not only a test of one's attainment in array formations, but it also tested everyone's immortal Tao cultivation. During the test, everyone would enter a huge abyss and fight against array formation demon beasts. Killing array formation demon beasts of different cultivation levels would earn them different points. Everyone's final ranking would be based on these points. As for the last round of the array formation competition, it tested everyone's ability to set up arrays. Whoever could set up an array formation faster and with a higher grade array formation within the allotted time would win this round of the assessment. After the 3 rounds of assessment, everyone's final ranking would be based on the average results of the 3 rounds of assessment. After listening to Zheng Xinhan's explanation, Mo Qingyun's understanding of the Great Void Array immediately became clear. When Mo Qingyun understood, Zheng Xinhan did not stop talking. Her expression became more serious. She said, "In this Great Void Array assessment, there are a few people who are very strong. We need to pay special attention to them. There are the 9 temples Nanshi of the Array tribe, Yuan Huaqing of the Chiman tribe, Tai Qinghan of the Bahua tribe, Zhuang Biyu of the Wanxiang tribe." Zheng Xinhan named several people in a row. Every one of them had an extraordinary background. They were all geniuses of the younger generation of ancient races. He then added, "Sacred Array Master Wang Chong, you can't chase me away at this time and push me into a sea of fire. Senior, you must be joking. I, Wang Chong, am actually that kind of person." Wang Chong hurriedly explained in response to Shui Long's worried words. He then tried to recruit Shui Long again. "Senior, you can seriously consider the proposal I gave you before. If you join the Great Void Fire Array sect, you won't need to fear Mo Qingyun anymore." Shui Long did not reject Wang Chang's recruitment. He only revealed a hesitant expression and said, "I need to carefully consider joining the Great Void Fire Array sect. I won't be leaving for a few days anyway. Let me think about it for a few days before I give you an answer." All right. Wang Chong was very satisfied with Shui Long's answer. He felt that since Shui Long had said that, he should be willing to accept the recruitment. After conversing with Shui Long for a while, Wang Chong sneered. A mocking look flashed through his eyes as he said, "Mo Qingyun, your luck is really bad. You actually came to the Great Void Fire Array sect. You probably don't know that I'll be the judge of the Great Void Array Conference. Wait until the Great Void Array Conference starts. See how I'll deal with you. At this moment, Wang Chang's heart was filled with anticipation. He wanted to defeat Mo Qingyun in the Great Void Array Conference. Knowing what Wang Chang was thinking, Xuelong also revealed a sinister smile. He looked at Wang Chang with a sympathetic gaze. This guy was about to die, but he didn't know it at all. He was still thinking about how to deal with Mo Qingyun. He was too naive. If Mo Qingyun was so easy to deal with, he wouldn't have been able to leave the ancestral tomb of the shaman clan alive. Senior, I have to take care of some things. I want to accompany you for the time being. Thinking that the Great Void Array Conference was tomorrow, Wang Chang didn't want to delay any longer. He prepared to immediately go and explain things. Originally, he thought that Mo Qingyun would be severely injured and battered by the sudden attack of the Blazing Sun Sunset Holy Formation. In the end, Mo Qingyun's face was calm as he leisurely broke the Blazing Sun Sunset Holy Formation. Judging from the current situation, it wouldn't take long for Mo Qingyun to break the Blazing Sun Sunset Holy Formation. This situation was far too different from what Wang Chang had imagined. How can this be? How did this kid's attainments and formations improve so quickly? Looking at the image on the screen, Wang Chang's expression was a little deranged. His emotions were a little too agitated. Wang Chang's abnormal behavior immediately attracted the attention of others. They all looked at the screen. This is the Blazing Sun Sunset Holy Formation? He's breaking the formation? Elder Wang Chang, you really put in a lot of effort to deal with this kid. This kid doesn't seem easy to deal with. He can even break the Blazing Sun Sunset Holy Formation you set up with ease. Judging from the speed at which he's breaking the formation, my attainments and formations are far inferior to his. In terms of formation attainments, he's probably at the top of this year's Great Void Formation Conference. Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance in breaking the formation, several elders sighed with emotion. They felt admiration for Mo Qingyun. However, before they could calm their emotions, their expressions became interesting, because they discovered that Mo Qingyun broke the Blazing Sun Sunset Holy Formation and actually took away all the materials for setting up the formation. This guy is too ruthless. He actually took away the materials for setting up the formation. Has anyone done something like this before? I don't think so. This kid is the first. He's really a piece of work. Among the materials for setting up the Blazing Sun Sunset Holy Formation, there are several extremely precious materials. Elder Wang Chang, you're going to suffer a great loss. Seeing Mo Qingyun take away the materials for setting up the formation, several people sighed with emotion. They felt some sympathy for Wang Chang. In their opinion, Wang Chang could be considered to have 8 lifetimes of bad luck to encounter a piece of work like Mo Qingyun. Hearing the words of the people beside him, Wang Chang's expression became even uglier. He was so angry that his face kept twitching. Judging from the current situation, his first confrontation with Mo Qingyun had ended in failure. Mo Qingyun, you really can't be underestimated. However, I won't let you off so easily. Looking at Mo Qingyun in the 10,000 Formation Road, Wang Chang's expression became more ferocious. He turned to the people beside him and said, "Everyone, I need your help with something now. Help me take out a nightmare grade point formation plate and throw it at the exit of Mo Qingyun's 10,000 Formation Road." He was fully immersed in his cultivation. Not long after, another person arrived. It was Yuan Huaqing of the Chiman clan. He's faster than me. Seeing Mo Qingyun at the entrance of the valley, Yuan Huaqing was also surprised. He was surprised by Mo Qingyun's appearance. In his opinion, Mo Qingyun should not be faster than him. When did that kid come? Yuan Huaqing walked over to Nanshi of the Ninth Temples and asked about Mo Qingyun's arrival time. Nanshi was stunned when she heard Yuan Huaqing's question. She shook her head and said, "I'm not sure. He was already sitting there when I arrived." Faster than you? Yuan Huaqing's expression changed when he heard Jiogong Nanshi's words. He looked at Mo Qingyun and thought, this kid was stopped by Wang Chong and the others before he entered the path of formations. Did he cheat and come here directly with their help? Impossible. Jiogong Nanshi shook her head and denied Yuan Huaqing's guess. She said, from her conversation earlier, I can tell that there's an old enmity between him and Wang Chong. As a result, Wang Chong won't help him cheat. He should be quite capable since he was able to come here before me. Hearing Jiogong Nanshi's words, Yuan Huaqing's face darkened a bit. With a disapproving expression, he said, I don't think so. The formations in the path of 10,000 formations are different. The difficulty of the tests is also different. Maybe he's lucky and happened to meet a less difficult one. Maybe. Nanshi of the Ninth Temples did not comment on Yuan Huaqing's analysis. He only nodded calmly. After a few words with Yuan Huaqing, Nanshi of the Ninth Temples ignored him and immersed himself in his recovery. Seeing Nanshi of the Ninth Temple's actions, Yuan Huaqing did not waste time and immersed himself in his recovery. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.